Salute, salute, salute. Shout out to everybody in the building, man. Can y'all hear me out there? Let me know if y'all can hear me out there. Yeah, man. As promised, man. Most definitely coming with Tony Busby on the Brianna Aguilera situation, guys. It appears that Tony Busby is most definitely representing her, guys. It's supposed to be a press conference today. Most definitely got that. Can y'all hear me out there? Let me know if y'all can hear me out there, guys. You know what I'm saying? It is most definitely important to know if y'all can hear me or not. Can y'all hear me out there? Double tap that screen. That's how you hit the like button, or click those three dots, hit that thumbs up, guys. We most definitely got the press conference live, man. I think it's about to get underway, y'all. What's up? What's up? Yes, I can hear you. What's up, Rhonda? How you doing? I hope you're having a blessed day. Yeah, man, it's underway. Let me take this down so we can get right to it, man. You know what I'm saying? Tony Busby is most definitely representing Brianna Aguilera's family, as they push forward to try to find out what happened to her in Austin, Texas, at the hands of her so-called friends, guys. At the hands of her so-called friends. Let's go. Press come underway. Let's get it.
Few moments, Houston attorney Tony Busby holding a news conference with the family of Brianna Aguilera.
Yeah, she is the Texas student who died after attending tailgating during the Texas A&M UT game on Friday. Early Saturday morning, just after midnight, she fell 7 floors from an apartment balcony.
Yesterday, Austin police laid out a detailed timeline of Brianna's final hours, saying evidence gathered so far does not point to criminal activity, but they believe Brianna took her own life. They pointed to a deleted digital suicide note.
You too, bro. Have a blessed help day already.
Now.
Good afternoon. My name is Natalie Gomez, spokesperson for the Gomez Law Firm. I want to start off by thanking you all for being here today. Now, this case demands strength, experience, and an unwavering commitment to justice. And that's why the Gomez Law Firm has partnered with Tony Busby and his team. Mr. Tony Busby's reputation is one of tenacity, results, and an unwavering commitment to justice. Moments of tragedy like this, you need a fearless team that won't back down. And for 50 years, my father, Joe Gomez, has fought for families during crisis and stood beside them. And today, alongside of Mr. Busby and his team, we stand by Brianna Aguilera's family, answers, and to seek justice. Now I'd like to introduce you to Mr. Tony Busby.
I want to introduce you all to Stephanie Rodriguez and Manuel Aguilera. Now, I saw on social media some comments about the lawyers that are involved here. One recurring comment was, he gets paid either way. I want to make sure we're clear on something. Don't get paid either way. We're doing this for reasons more than money. This family lost their daughter the day after Thanksgiving, mere weeks before Christmas. Brianna was a girl who had the world at her feet. Her whole life was in front of her. She was a girl with big plans and big dreams. She was an honor student, a former cheerleader, a proud sophomore at my alma mater, Texas A&M. She was a political science major and wanted to be a future lawyer. I just found out from her mother that the last time I spoke to the Pre-Law Society at Texas A&M, Brianna was in the audience.
Tony Busby, representing Brianna
We refuse to
Aguilera's
believe that this
family,
young
guys.
woman committed suicide. Why? Because she was not suicidal. Contrary to what has been sloppily reported, in many cases by a lot of the people here, she did not engage in self-harm. She had never tried to hurt herself before. So why are these groups of lawyers engaged in this? Because this family wants the truth. They're entitled to the truth. We were asked by these parents who love their daughter to find the truth of what happened to her. They didn't feel like they were getting thorough information from the Austin Police Department. And despite what the detective said yesterday, or maybe implied yesterday, it's kind of hard to figure out what he was saying. This is very much an ongoing investigation. I've been around a long time. Good investigations lead to conclusions. Bad investigations start with a conclusion, and then they try to support the conclusion through the investigation. It's clear to me, based on what this detective and the things that he said to Stephanie, it's clear to me that he had made a decision immediately about what his conclusion was and then went about trying to support it. The Austin Police Department formed a conclusion within hours of this tragedy that this was a suicide without any investigation. This family had a horrible tragedy, and the communication from the Austin Police Department was so bad that the family became concerned enough to engage me and my colleagues at Gamez Law. And they also asked the public for help. With proper communication, this matter would be treated like most investigations, where no information is shared until actually after the investigation is complete. But what did we see yesterday? What we saw yesterday was a hurried, rushed press conference. And I think we all can agree the reason they had a press conference yesterday is because they knew that we were going to have this conference today. They gave the family no notice of the press conference. They sent 2 emails, and then the detective went on camera in front of millions of people and told everybody this young lady committed suicide. Ironically, the same thing he told Stephanie, the mother, within a few minutes of talking to her without any investigation. That's not the way it's supposed to be done. The family had dared to ask questions about what was going on and what had been learned by the investigation, was then punished with leaks to millions of people from the Austin Police Department, to the detriment of their daughter and to their daughter's memory. So we were hired to assist this family in finding the truth, and we've been doing that. But everyone knows that investigations are supposed to remain confidential until the investigation is complete. And why is that? That's because you don't want to tamper with potential witnesses or scare off witnesses or create a false narrative or color witnesses' interpretation of the facts. Everything that detective did yesterday, that's exactly what he did. Do you realize that the autopsy has not been completed? Now, I want you to let that soak in for a minute. The autopsy has not been completed. The medical examiner has told us that it will not be completed for 60 to 90 days, yet you had the so-called lead detective in front of millions of people saying that he concluded that this was a suicide. Now, how unprofessional is that? The police department asked the medical examiner to do a toxicology report. We don't have the results of that toxicology report, yet this investigator stood in front of all of you and said that he had concluded this was a suicide, even though by law he doesn't have the authority to make that conclusion. Only the medical examiner has that authority. The police department also asked for a rape kit to be done. They admitted to us yesterday in a Zoom call that, well, if they do the rape kit, we don't even know where they're going to send it to.
What's up, Jay?
This is what we're dealing with, and that's the reason we're involved. It's like the Keystone Cops over here in Austin. And it's incredibly frustrating to this family. Why would the Austin Police Department hurriedly perform or set up a press conference and leak details of the investigation, suggest to you that there was a suicide note without the medical examiner ever even performing their job? Why would they do that? Now, what he told us, I'll tell you what the investigator told us. He said, oh my goodness gracious, the witnesses are getting death threats. I said, from whom? Why? No answer, because it's foolishness, absolute foolishness. And it's that kind of conduct that caused the family to try to find somebody separate from the Austin Police Department to investigate this. We don't have a toxicology report. We don't have a rape report. We don't have a cause of death. And none of those things, put that on top of that, none of those are conclusions that a police detective, a corporal, can make. He doesn't have the statutory authority to determine the cause of death. And I'm surprised that none of you even asked that question. He gave you an opportunity to ask questions. Not one of you said, hey, wait a minute, detective. When did the state of Texas give you the legislative authority to determine cause of death? I thought only either a JP, if there's no medical examiner, or a medical examiner could do that. Is that what the medical examiner has done? He would have said to you, no, actually, the medical examiner hasn't even completed his autopsy. But none of you asked that question. You just bought everything that he said, hook, line, and sinker. And then you published your most of the things that I saw on Instagram and the newspaper were cause of death.
Thank you, Rika.
Young lady committed suicide. That's irresponsible. That's irresponsible. You should not do that. You should say, wait a minute, detective. How many times have you been reprimanded? Detective.
Whoa.
Wait a minute. When did you have the statutory authority, detective, to determine cause of death? Detective.
Yeah, this is the same attorney that represented some of Diddy's accusers, guys. Tony Busby. He is now representing the Aguilera family in this situation that occurred in Austin, where the Austin police said that the daughter basically took herself out the game by jumping off a 17-foot balcony, guys. Basically, the police are saying he did it herself, but the mom and Busby are saying that there was some form of foul play. This is the official press conference that Tony Busby held, guys. Make sure you're double tapping that screen. That's how you hit the like button, or click those three dots in the right hand corner. Hit the thumbs up, and most definitely subscribe to the channel if you're new.
That's your job. Now it's my job. Dissemination of information by the Austin Police Department during an investigation, the way it was done yesterday, is unethical, unprofessional, and incredibly damaging to an objective, unbiased investigation. And it's also damaging to the memory of this child. All this family is asking for is a thorough, complete, unbiased, open-minded investigation. That's all they're asking for. It's what any parent would ask for whose child went to college, went to a game, lost her for several hours, and then found out hours and hours later that she supposedly jumped off a balcony. And with just a few questions, a few pointed questions, quickly figure out that these investigators, this so-called investigator, did not know what he was talking about. We're going to get into that. You can't close a case before you even have the cause of death to the medical examiner. Period. Full stop. You don't have that right. You don't have that authority. We have to get this right. This is not just for this family. This is for any family. You have to get this right. You can't close a book in the middle of reading a chapter and say that that's closed and it's over. That's not how it works. You can't misclassify a death like this. When you misclassify a death, you're planting a lie in the soil where truth should grow. And as I said, to her credit, Stephanie Rodriguez was very close to her daughter, very close. Talked to her daily. Knew everything that she was up to, everything that she was doing. The very first interaction she had with the detective from the Austin Police Department, he told her, your daughter committed suicide. The very first reaction, the very first interaction. At that point, he hadn't talked to one witness. He hadn't seen her phone. He hadn't done anything. That's sloppy and irresponsible. He claims she made suicidal comments. He told us in the Zoom call she made suicidal comments. You know what he was talking about? The other day, when I was talking to a friend the other day, I said, man, you're going to make me jump off a bridge. That's what he's talking about. Silliness like that. He later claimed she was making those kinds of statements on the day of the night that she died. If that's the case, why did her friends leave her out on the balcony by herself? If that's true, because it's not true. None of the things that we've been told by the Austin Police Department are consistent with the actual facts that we've learned. The detective was talking about suicide before he was ever given her phone. Then he gets into her phone and he sees an essay that she wrote. He calls it a suicide note. She took creative writing the semester before. I don't know what the purpose of that. We'll never know what she wrote and deleted.
Let me stop this. Hold on. Let me bring it right back. Maybe it'll stop glitching. I hate when it glitch, y'all. Hold up. Let me bring it right back in.
Suicide note. Total malarkey. Total malarkey. Something she wrote on the 25th. She talked to her mother on the 25th. She was with her boyfriend on the night of the 25th. She was talking to her mother every single day after that. We see pictures of her smiling. We see pictures of her having fun. We see pictures of her partying. Total baloney what they're trying to sell to you. And why? Am I suggesting that there's some kind of conspiracy? No, I'm suggesting they're lazy and they're incompetent. Just so I'm clear, I'm not suggesting any sort of conspiracy that there's some kind of somebody in power that wants this to go. No, I'm not suggesting that. I'm suggesting there's incompetence and laziness on the part of the detective. That's what I'm suggesting. The suggestion they've made is she wrote an essay, because it's not a note. She wrote an essay on the 25th that she deleted. And then she goes and kills herself 4 days later. This is their logic. It's really ridiculous. So, if you they didn't bother to even explain. I don't even know what they did, honestly. I know what we've done. We sent someone to the apartment. We had someone take the dimensions of the apartment. We had somebody measure the railing and the height of the railing. We know how tall Brianna was. She was 5'2". The railing's 44 inches. You don't fall over it. There's no furniture out in the balcony. There's nothing to climb up on, to jump off. Anyone that's on that little balcony, it's literally as big as this. It's a little bitty old balcony. And there's a window just like that you can see onto the balcony. The apartment is like a dorm. It's very small. There's no way you can be in that apartment and hide. If you're in the apartment, people know you're in the apartment. It's a little smaller.
Hey, yeah, I'm finna refresh real quick. Hold on, let me take this down. I don't like this glitching. I want it to come through like it's supposed to come through. Give me half a second. Hold on. Back like I never left. Hold on. Let me get this back up here. Maybe this will fix it.
Apartment. No offense to the apartment complex, but that's what it is. It's like a little double room dorm with a small balcony, no furniture. These are easy things to find out. Things that you would say, wait a minute, you're saying that this young lady was out on the balcony? She was 5'2". She had to somehow climb over the railing to try to kill herself. Then certainly you guys could see that. Certainly you knew that was happening. How could that possibly be? It doesn't make any sense because it didn't happen that way. She was 100 pounds, 5'2". There's no way she could fall that railing accidentally. There's no way to be on the balcony and you be inside and not know somebody's on the balcony. It's almost impossible to be inside the apartment and not know somebody's in the apartment with you, even though there's 2 little bedrooms. This is called common sense. I'll tell you what's most concerning. They didn't explore the fight that Brianna apparently had with somebody at the tailgate at the Austin Rugby Club. I think she went to, what was the name of the tailgate that they had there? Some student organization. Latin Economic Business Development tailgate at the Austin Rugby Club. There was an altercation between her and another female. No investigation of that. Turns out that other female was in the apartment with her that night. There was a witness between 12:30 and 1 a.m. who posted on TikTok. Many of you have seen it. Young man posted on TikTok that he could hear up above at around the 17th floor in that general area fighting.
Hey Mo, hey cut up girl.
Somebody saying, "Get off of me." And then a muffled sound. He posted it, got many views. You can get on TikTok and look at it now. We talked to him this morning. Guess what? Here's the irony, or maybe here's the tragedy. The police didn't bother to talk to him. Now, why wouldn't they talk to him? He had incredibly specific information about what he heard. He could hear it loud enough. He could hear the words that were spoken. "Get off of me," and screaming, and then a muffled cry between 12:30 and 1 p.m. right next to the apartment. We had an expert say, "Wait a minute, could he hear that?" We had to engage an expert to say, "Is it possible that he could actually hear that?" The expert said, "Absolutely. Absolutely could hear that. It makes a lot of sense." Never talked to by the police. We have a witness who was in the apartment across from the apartment where this apparently occurred, who could hear running back and forth and screaming. And then she said, "I could tell something had happened." Did y'all know this? Ridiculous. Her entire family was in the apartment. The police could have talked to her and several other people. They failed to look into the anonymous message that was sent. There was an anonymous message that was posted that said, "Hey, I have specific information that this young lady was locked out on the balcony." Did you know that? It's not part of the investigation. Why is it not part of the investigation? Because they made their decision literally within minutes. Within minutes. Now here's where it gets a little dicey, and here's where I'm having it, and I want to be very careful because I don't want to be accusing anybody, because I'm not accusing anybody other than the APD, the Austin Police Department, not doing its job. At first we were told that she jumped from the balcony, and the three young women that were in the apartment, and we're talking about, as I said, a tiny little apartment, were asleep and didn't know where she was. That's what we were told first. They were asleep. They didn't even know she was on the balcony.
Hey, my friend.
They didn't know where she was, and that's the reason why they didn't call the police until 12:15 the next day. That's what we were told. That's part of the cops' timeline. Okay? Put up the timeline, Ryan. They said, according to the plot, we haven't talked to them. These are these anonymous women who were in the apartment, 3 of them.
So we got Tony Busby, guys, representing the Aguilera family, for y'all that don't know. In the case of the a teenager, basically college student, that failed to her passing from a 17th floor balcony, guys. In Austin, Texas, police ruled it as she did it to herself. The mom and Tony Busby believe that somebody did it to her, guys. Make sure you double tapping the screen. That's how you hit the like button if you're on a mobile device, or click those 3 dots, hit that thumbs up. Let's get the likes up, guys. It helps out the channel. This is the live press conference.
One of which was the lessor or the lessee of the apartment, who vacated the apartment the very next day and never went back. Did you know that? This is the timeline that the police gave us yesterday. This is the timeline. If you can't look at that timeline in 1 second, point out the problem of that timeline, then you're not doing your job. We'll get to it. So at first we're told that the 3 women didn't know where she was and they were asleep. That's what we were told. And that they didn't know where she was, and they were looking for her, and they were texting her mom, and it wasn't. They decided about 12:14 the next day, 6 hours later almost, that they decided at that point they couldn't find her, so they were going to call the police. This is what we were told by the Austin Police Department. Lay aside what was heard happening at about 12:30 to 1 o'clock that night. Lay aside what the witness across the hall said. Lay aside what the man down on the street said. Just disregard all that. This is what the police say. It must be right, according to them, because they did such a thorough investigation. This is what they gave us. Not one of you have asked a question about it. Not one of you. But this is what they said. Her friends called the police at 12:14 the next day because they didn't know where she was. They hadn't seen her. They thought maybe she had went out. That's what they said. Keep that in your mind. And I asked the police that, like, wait a minute, how is that possible? How is that possible? A whole group of 14 or so people came into the apartment that night after they'd been out partying. They got there about 11 or so. Everybody left, right? That's what they say. And it left just 4 girls there, 4 young women, right? And the 4 young women, 3 of them didn't call the police till 12 o'clock the next day because they didn't know where she was. What the police say. Lay aside what the witnesses have said about that, and lay aside the fact that that's a really small apartment. It's hard to get lost in that little small apartment. I want you to look very carefully. The first entry on the timeline. According to the police, let me go over there.
Tony Buzz be doing his big one, guys.
Brianna did not have her phone. She didn't have her phone, so she had to call to make a call. According to the police, she borrowed her friend's phone, meaning one of the 3 women that was in the apartment.
What's up, Miss America?
Now look at this very carefully. According to the police, she borrowed her friend's phone and made a call from 12:43. It lasted 1 minute. At 12:46, 2 minutes later, the police were responding to a 911 call because she was outside on the ground. Now do the math. So you're probably thinking, well, she must have, she hung up her friend's phone and she just jumped. She hung up the phone, she dropped it on the balcony, she jumped. First question you should have is, where's the phone? What did she do with the phone? I asked the police that 3 different times. 3 times. They sidestepped me every time until this morning. They sidestepped me because they hadn't thought about it, because they rushed to judgment. They finally answered the question this morning. And you know what they said to me this morning? And they said it, and they didn't even realize what they were telling me because they're so sloppy.
Well, get on them then, Tony.
I made them put it in writing. I have it here. I'll read it to you. Austin Police Department did not find the phone on Miss Aguilera. Miss Aguilera returned the phone to its owner before she was seen going onto the balcony. Now, how is that possible? That is 180 degrees than what you told us previous.
Yeah, y'all said nobody seen her go to the balcony.
That is absolutely contrary to what you told us previous. Previous, you said the 3 women were asleep. You said they didn't know where she went. But then when I asked them one question over and over, and you had to answer it, then all of a sudden we realized if she did, in fact, use her friend's phone, like they claim, if she did, in fact, use it for 1 minute and was found already minutes later by a passerby, and the police were already responding to a 911 call, think about that, what the ramifications of that are. That whoever phone she was using was standing right next to her as she went over the balcony, if she went over the balcony. Now you're saying to yourselves, well, shoot, there's got to be a reasonable explanation. We should talk to the witnesses. We should investigate. We should figure this out. That's what we're saying. Now you're getting it. You sat there, and with all due respect, with all due
Thank you,
respect,
Fancy.
you all, I watched it. You all sat there and you had this corporal or whatever he is, lead detective. And Mrs. Rodriguez will tell you how he is and her interaction with him in just one moment. But you let him stand at a podium just like this and feed you total baloney. And all you had to do is say, wait a minute, detective.
Yes, her mom
Wait
is
a minute.
there.
She borrowed somebody's phone. Where is that phone? Maybe she must have went over the railing with it. She had to give somebody. No, she.
Everybody is asking what's going on. I did a whole live stream on this last night prior to this press conference. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and go look at my live from last night, guys, and it'll catch you all the way up to speed. You know, I guess after you view this, when you get time, go back and look at the live I did yesterday. It got her on the thumbnail. Yeah, man, I most definitely give you all the details of the situation, man. Tony Buzz be doing his thing right now. He's pointing out all the inconsistencies that were spoken by the detectives, the investigators, and all the guys.
According to him, she returned it to its owner before she was seen walking back out to the balcony. Absolutely impossible. Very suspicious. We have a problem. And I shouldn't have to ask the detective 3 times the same question, should I? I shouldn't have to do that. But I did it, and I'm going to keep doing it. And another thing, why would you tell these kids, the boyfriend who Stephanie knows, who's been over to her house, who her daughter has been dating, they're in love. Why would you, detective, tell him not to speak to Stephanie Rodriguez? Don't talk to her. What kind of foolishness is that? Just absolute insensitive and inhumane in my view. Before I go any further, I'm getting a little incensed here. Let me introduce to you Stephanie Rodriguez. She wants to read to you a statement. I hope you'll give her your full attention.
Well, they're trying to say they saying she was drunk. They saying she did it to herself.
Hello,
Mom
my name
believes
is
it's
Stephanie
something
Rodriguez,
else.
and I'm the mother of Brianna Aguilera.
This is her mom.
Brianna was a driven, disciplined, and caring person. She was beautiful. She was a loving daughter, a protective big sister, and a caring granddaughter. A second mom to her 2 younger brothers. Her baby was her little Yorkie, Ava. All of us were her best friend. She made everyone around her feel loved and supported. I considered her my best friend, not just a mother-daughter relationship. We talked every day, and she would tell me everything. I miss her so much. Her brothers miss her too. Her father and grandmother miss her so much, and so do all her friends. Brianna grew up as an all-star cheerleader, an incredible athlete. She was an honor student and a member of the National Honor Society all throughout school. Christmas was her favorite time of year. She loved decorating, baking, and hiding the elf on the shelf for her little brother. Her brothers already miss her so much. Brianna graduated magna cum laude from high school. She was accepted to many colleges, but chose Texas A&M. She was studying political science and criminal justice. She was not like most young girls. She loved writing more than watching TV. Her favorite class at A&M were her creative writing classes. She dreamed of attending law school in New York and wanted to become a criminal defense lawyer. She was so smart and had such a bright future. She dreamt of a life of where she could make a difference. My daughter was not suicidal. I know my daughter better than anyone. We spoke every day. I spoke to her on the 25th, the 26th, and the 27th. Even the morning of the 28th, she was not suicidal. To the Austin police, I can deal with you being annoyed each time I called or tried to talk to you. I can deal with how arrogantly you talked down to us each time we talked. I can deal with you telling my daughter's friends not to talk to me like I am some sort of criminal. But I cannot deal with you doing a news conference and saying false things about my child without a thorough investigation. I cannot deal with you jumping to conclusions and not performing an actual investigation. I cannot deal with your failure to do your job. Do your job.
Unalive to the people that keep on typing down there, is that even a word? Listen, man, you know what it means. Unalive, you can't say the D word on YouTube. They don't like it when you say that word. It is a trigger word. So instead of saying instead of saying the D word, DEAD or DIE, people say unalive. So for you who are acting like you don't know what unalive means, it means not here anymore. It means the same thing as DAD. Lord, how mercy.
The police, as much as I've always been a supporter of the police, with all due respect to them, do not determine cause of death. That's not their job. That job, is specifically reserved for the medical examiner's office. There is no medical examiner in the county, then it's the JP in the county. In Austin, it's the job of the medical examiner to determine cause of death, not Detective Robert Marshall. The medical examiner told us that a rape kit was done and the autopsy will be performed. It'll take us 60 to 90 days. So that begs the question, why did Detective Robert Marshall tell us that they had reached their conclusion and that the investigation was complete? It doesn't work that way. How is it that Robert Marshall has determined the cause of this young woman's death? He doesn't have that authority. His job is to question all the witnesses. We've already offered up several. We'll offer up several more for him to do his job. Hopefully a different investigator will be involved. There are many questions about what was done here, about what happened on that night. And it's already going to be incredibly difficult for the Austin Police Department to conduct an objective investigation at this point. And that's because the way that the Austin Police Department has handled this and jumped to conclusions within hours of this tragedy disqualifies the Austin Police Department from further investigation of this matter. So I'm doing this today. I'm calling on the Austin Police Department to reopen the investigation with a different investigator, to reassign Robert Marshall and put this in the hands of a different investigator. Failing that, I will be calling on the governor to engage the Texas Rangers. We will submit a formal packet to them with all the evidence we have gathered so far, and we will gather. We intend to present 30 to 40 pages of information, statements, and other factual data that they need.
Thank you, Miss America.
To do a proper investigation. And here are the questions I hope are answered. Austin Police Department, why would you close your investigation without having all the facts? Why not wait for the autopsy results? Why not wait for the rape kit result? And who would you send it to if you've already made up your mind? Why not question all the witnesses, the ones that we've questioned? The young man who's down on the ground who heard somebody say, "Get off of me," or the young lady and her family across the hall who heard running, screaming, and, quote, something bad had happened. Why not question them? Why not examine all the phones of the friend group? We asked that question in the Zoom call. You know what we were told? We don't have the power to look at their phones. Hogwash. Hogwash. You have that power, and you need to do it. Why hold a hasty press conference to announce that this young lady had killed herself without even talking to her mother to see what her affect was leading up to the 28th? You heard what she said. She knows her daughter. She knows her daughter more than anyone. Why not talk to the friends immediately? Why wait? Why wait to talk to her friend group? Why not talk to them immediately? Why did you let the owner of the apartment, that is the young woman who was leasing the apartment, vacate the apartment. Literally vacate the apartment and leave town. Why won't the boyfriend talk to us? The boyfriend that was a longtime boyfriend of this young lady and was very friendly with her mother. Why can't we see the texts? Why can't we see the phones? Where's her wallet? Where is Brianna's wallet? It's missing. They didn't tell you that, did they? I see you, right? They didn't tell you that, did you? If you had asked the question, they would have told you that. They told you what they wanted you to hear.
Wow, guys, her wallet was missing.
Her wallet is missing. Why did her friends wait until 12:14 the next day to report her missing? If she borrowed the phone and returned it the night of, 2 minutes before she jumped her death. Why didn't they examine the balcony? Why didn't they examine the railing? Why didn't they see if there was some sort of table there, chair there that somebody who's 5'2" would have to step on to get over the railing? Why didn't they look for scuff marks? Why didn't they do anything? They didn't even bother to look to whether somebody did in fact jump off the balcony, whether they would end up in the tree that's 30 some odd foot forward of the apartment. Y'all didn't ask that question either.
Here, let me give y'all a little rundown. Hold on, Tony. All right. So to those who are just now getting here that don't exactly know what's going on, this is the case of Brianna Aguilera, a Texas A&M student that went to Austin to watch the Texas Longhorns play against Texas A&M. Right? She went to a tailgate party. This is what the reports say. The reports say that she basically got too intoxicated and was basically asked to leave the party. She got into a confrontation with one of her friends who was trying to help escort her out of the party, right? Somewhere in there, she winds up either jumping, falling, or being pushed off a 17-story balcony, guys, where she fell to her passing. You know, the mother was concerned. She called to the police department to find out where her daughter was. They told her to call 2 other police departments around the area to see if she had been booked in. They also told her that she was probably intoxicated and that she would sleep it off and call her in the morning. Well, that wasn't good enough for the mom. The mom started to ping, basically try to locate her daughter's phone. It wound up being found or pinging by Creek, and in Austin there was some kind of a serial unaliver who had took people's lives by that creek prior. So she's really worried now. Come to find out that the police found the daughter's phone. It was inside the purse. This is from what the mom says. It was inside the purse of one of her friends. She got into an argument. Her daughter got into an argument with her boyfriend. She had to borrow somebody else's phone in order to call him because her phone was missing. So she called him from somebody else's phone. They argued on the phone. 2 minutes later, she's unalive. The police wouldn't give the mom any details. The police and they told the friends not to talk to the mom. Don't give her any information. Don't even talk to her because the mom had got the friend's number from the boyfriend, and she was blowing up their phones and they were not answering. Well, yesterday, the police gave a press conference. The Austin PD gave a press conference in which they said they found a suicide note, right? Basically saying that in November on the 25th, she wrote unalive note, that she was going to take herself out the game and deleted it. Well, when the police got the phone, they went back, they found it. They reported on it in the press conference and basically said that they seen no foul play. Mom thinks different. She's high. Tony must be the representative. It's a lot of inconsistencies in the case. Some that I can't even think of off the top of my head, but I did a whole live stream on this whole entire situation last night. It's the live before this live. If you go back, it has her on the thumbnail. So when you get time, go back and look at the show I did yesterday, and it'll bring you up full speed to what Tony's talking about right now. You'll be all the way caught up. But the police are saying basically she did it to herself. They don't see any foul play. The mom and Tony Busby say hogwash, somebody did it to her. You know, she didn't do it to herself. She did get into a fight with one of her friends. Like I told y'all, she oh yeah, I forgot. The mom also looked in her phone, you know, and basically found text messages of, well, not even text messages. The girl had been texting her mom that night and basically told her that she got into a fight with one of her friends. You know, that is where people come in. The friend that was trying to escort her out the party, and she punched the friend in the face. You see, so they're saying that basically this fight could have been possibly what led to her demise, but the police aren't investigating properly and doing their job like they're supposed to, which leads people to feel like it's more to this situation than just her taking herself out the game.
Laws of physics aren't different in the city of Austin. You realize?
Oh yeah, that's right. Thank you, Ballin. And one of the friends that was at the party took a picture of Brianna, basically with a guy hugging on her, got his hand around her neck, which wasn't her boyfriend, and the friends the picture to the boyfriend to upset him. Let's talk about it. What's up, Pressure?
When the phone call came in at 12:46 and the officers responded to the 911 call, if it was so obvious this young woman had fallen to her death, why was it till 6 o'clock, 5 hours later, that they ever to the apartment complex? If it was so obvious that that's how she had died. These are the questions you should be asking. At the press conference, you didn't ask any questions. You didn't ask any questions. You just lapped it up like it was cool water and you were very thirsty. Very disappointing to me. So, we have given you a lot of information. We're going to submit a packet. I'm going to call on the governor to, I don't expect, based on the conduct I saw from the police chief of Austin, her defensive manner that she approached the podium yesterday, I don't expect any relief from her. I don't expect she's going to say King's X.
Yes, the cops are being accused of not doing their job.
Thorough. It was kind of embarrassing. We're going to get a different detective to start over. I don't expect that to happen. I expect what's going to happen is I'm going to send a formal to the governor asking for the Texas Rangers to be engaged. And I'm going to submit a detailed packet to the governor's office and ultimately to the Texas Rangers to do an investigation to figure out what actually happened, because we still don't know. Notice I haven't suggested to you what happened, because I don't know. I'm starting to get concern. So I've given you a lot of information. So what is your headline? Your headline is this: there are serious and disturbing questions raised with regard to the Austin Police Department's handling of the investigation surrounding the death of Breonna Aguilera. The Texas Rangers have now been called to intervene. Thank you very much. Let's go.
All right, so we heard from Tony Busby, guys. He didn't even take any questions.
It's 2 minutes. That's what I expect. Let's go. Y'all move your camera, please.
Yeah, so Tony playing with him, man. Tony is not playing with him at all, guys. Hold on. Yeah, he is most definitely on the case. He is most definitely looking to have other people like the Texas Rangers look into this whole entire situation. It is very crazy. Like I said, I did a whole live stream on it. It's the live stream right before this one. It got Brianna on the thumbnail. You know, if you're looking to really get caught up with what's going on in this situation, you can most definitely go back there and check it out, and it'll bring you all the way up to speed from how we got from there to here. Tony is playing 0 games with this one. Absolutely, Ballin. He ain't playing at all. All right, so with some political news, guys, let's go here. Remember, what's his name? Pete Hegseth. is basically under fire right now, guys, for allegedly giving the order to unalive everybody on the Venezuelan boat. You know, they've been blowing up these boats. They say they contain narcotics and they're, you know, drugs all on the boat. Well, they're saying that Pete Hegseth basically gave order to unalive some survivors, guys, that was clinging to one of the boats that they blew up, right? When asked about it, Hegseth said it was not him that gave the order, that it was actually somebody else, which led the government basically to question this admiral. You know, I forget what his name is off the top, but I'm pretty sure they're gonna say it in a second. You know, and he had to go testify in front of Congress, guys. It was closed door, so they didn't publicize it like they do everything else. But we most definitely got the reactions of some of the people that was there, as well as a lot of reports on that entire situation. We also got coming up in a minute, they're saying that Trump has pardoned a drug kingpin, guys, who is responsible for bringing over 500, I think they said tons or something like that, of drugs into America, guys. Houseway. He blowing up boats behind drugs, but pardons a kingpin. I'm just saying. Let's check this out, though. Let's get into the situation with Pete Hegseth first. Let's go.
Strike on an alleged drug kingpin. This time in the Eastern Pacific. That's what you're watching here, this video that they released today of this strike. The military says that this boat was carrying drugs, and they allege that 4 men on board had been killed as a result of this strike. This is all coming, though, as Congress is now investigating the video of the very first of what is now the total of 23 strikes on these suspected and alleged drug boats. The commander who led that initial mission now under major scrutiny, and he was on Capitol Hill today to brief lawmakers who have been demanding answers about what happened and when. Admiral Frank Bradley was joined today by the Joint Chiefs Chairman,
Frank Bradley.
The Secretary of Defense.
That's his name.
That the Admiral is the one who made the call for a follow-up strike that day, targeting the survivors who were in the water after the initial strike. The military brass was taking questions behind closed doors from lawmakers, but CNN has exclusive reporting tonight from sources with direct knowledge of those briefings that the Admiral told them that the 2 survivors in the water did not appear to have radio or other communications devices. That matters because defense officials that we've been hearing from have been quietly arguing that the survivors were legitimate targets because they appeared to be radioing for help or backup, reinforcements that could theoretically allow them to have continued to traffic the drugs that were on board that boat. However, despite that, and according to our new reporting at CNN from my colleagues, Admiral Bradley today acknowledged that those 2 survivors were in no position to make a distress call. The level of satisfaction with these answers that lawmakers got today seemed to depend, though, on whether or not they were Democrats or Republicans.
What on that room was one of the most troubling things I've seen in my time in public service.
They were exactly what we expect our military command.
All right, so these guys got to see the video guys. They got to see it in its entirety. They are part of the group that watched the video with the survivors, you know, and then the second strike that took their lives as well. So yeah, let's go.
Today, I didn't see anything disturbing about it.
I have more policy questions than ever about the framing of the mission, the rules of engagement.
My source tonight is the top Democrat on the House Armed Services Committee, Congressman Adam Smith of Washington. What did you see on that video today that you can tell us tonight?
Well, it's disturbing on 2 levels. First, I agree with Senator Kearns. The overall mission, what is the war that we are fighting here, and what are the rules of engagement? Because if it's a war, it's one thing. If it's not, it's a different thing. And the whole underpinning of the entire mission is in question. And this only raises the question further. And on this specific second strike, we got a lot of bad information from Secretary Hegseth. I remember, first of all, he said fake news didn't happen. This will happen, but he took the shot. It was the fog of war. We couldn't see. It's very, very clear in this video, which, by the way, should be made public. You had 2 shipwrecked people on the top of the tiny little bit of the boat that was left, that was capsized. Now, they weren't signaling to anybody. And the idea that these 2 were going to be able to return to the fight, even if you accept all of the questionable legal premises around this mission, around these strikes, it's still very hard to imagine how these two were returning to any sort of fight in that condition.
So you could easily see the survivors.
Yes. Yeah. There were times, this video played out over an extended period of time. There was roughly 48 minutes between the first strike and the second strikes, the second time. In those 48 minutes, sometimes there was a cloud cover and the drones weren't there. But at the time of the strike, you could clearly see the two people on the boat.
And they weren't calling, radioing in, anything like that.
I mean, if they had a radio device on them, it must have been really small because it sure wasn't apparent from looking at the video. And they certainly did not appear to be signaling to anybody.
Can you square that with Senator Tom Cotton saying that they were trying to flip a boat that was loaded with drugs over, that was bound for the United States? Is that what you saw?
That's patently ridiculous. I mean,
that's not true in your view.
Gosh, Admiral Bradley didn't even pretend that was the case. There was no way they were turning this boat back over. The boat was completely disabled, and Admiral Bradley admitted that. It was drifting with the current. It was going to go where the current was going to take them. And I don't know, I didn't see all 48 minutes between the first and second strike, maybe for the first 10, but it appears that the boat split at least half. I mean, there was this tiny little bit of the bow that was still, capsized. They weren't trying to flip anything over, first of all. Second of all, there is the claim the drugs still could have been there. There's no
Thank you,
evidence
Flip
of that.
Mode.
You see the first strike, boat's on fire, flips over, maybe in that tiny portion of the boat. But that's speculation, and it certainly wasn't clear from the video.
So those two survivors are floating on that small part of the boat that's left open.
Correct.
Did he explain why they struck those survivors?
Yeah, because he was arguing two things. One, it was possible that the drug, which were targeted from this in the first place, were still there. Two, somebody could have helped them and helped them carry out their mission. Now, they didn't see any other boat. They didn't see any other plane. It was just sort of possible. And the argument was they were in a position to potentially return to, quote, the fight. And that's where we get back to the original question. What is the fight? In Iraq and Afghanistan, they were shooting at us. They were trying to blow us up. It was very clear what the fight was. Here, they're trying to ship cocaine somewhere. We're not even sure it was going to the U.S., by the way. I mean, that's a pretty broad definition of a fight that gives the president and the secretary of defense lethal authority over a lot of people without any due process.
So based on today's briefing, was that second strike justified?
Oh, that's a legal conclusion. I have big questions about whether or not it was justified. I'm not willing to say, yeah, that was unjustified. This is a war crime. But what I will tell you is this demands much more investigation, much more transparency to get those answers, to get greater clarity on what the rules of engagement were and how they applied in this particular circumstance. This did not set that issue to rest.
You said at times there was cloud cover, but when Secretary Hegseth said the other day that it was fog of war, is that how you would characterize what you saw today?
That's idiotic. Okay. I mean, I understand the fog of war. People are shooting at you. You see a guy, okay, you blew up the vehicle they're in. Are they armed? We had video for 48 minutes of two guys hanging off the side of a boat. There was plenty of time to make a clear and sober analysis. I don't think Admiral Bradley would disagree with that. There was no, oh my gosh, we're in a hurry. Is this fireball going to hit us? No. Two guys floating on a capsized piece of a boat in the middle of the ocean.
Did he argue as self-defense? That's the other thing that we have from the White House.
Self-defense of what? I mean, the extended argument is these guys were trafficking cocaine.
Yeah, self-defense of what?
That cocaine still existed, might have wound up in the U.S., and then might have caused some harm. But is so attenuated. I've already made that point, so I won't make it again. But it's a real stretch.
You want the video released publicly?
Absolutely. There's nothing classified about that video. The OLC memo, the Office of Legal Counsel memo justifying this whole thing, which is nonsensical if you read it, ought to be made public.
And you want Secretary Hegseth to testify?
Absolutely.
Thank you, Ms. Fuller.
On Admiral Bradley, this is Secretary Hegseth's mission. He's out there talking tough about everything, saying he doesn't have to obey the law in many instances, putting the servicemen on the front line of this. Secretary Hegseth ought to own this. It is his choice, his call. He's the one who did this, and President Trump. That's civil leadership that drove this.
How did Admiral Bradley come across today?
Very respectable. I mean, it was challenging. It was the Senator Reid, Congressman Rogers, and Senator Wicker in the room, and Jack Reed and I in particular were very challenging. He's a smart, respectful guy, good at his job. I have a problem with that. I have serious questions about judgment of this particular decision, but it was a good conversation.
My question is, listening to what you had to say, what Jim Himes had to say, what Senator Cotton had to say, is how did Democrats and Republicans watch the same video and come out with two very different takeaways?
Well, let me just say, in this factual situation, what I heard Senator Cotton say, even Admiral Bradley wouldn't agree with that. This idea that they were active, they were radioing for help, they're ready to turn the boat back over. As I said, it's patently absurd based on the video. All right. Now, if you want to come out and say, look, screw drug dealers, they should be killed anywhere, any place, anytime, no due process, no nothing. They're just that bad. We can't take the chance. Okay, make that argument. Let's have that conversation. But throughout this process, they've been making stuff up. Remember, again, didn't happen, never happened. Oh, well, it happened, but fog of war, we couldn't see anything. Oh, they're trying to turn the boat over. Oh, they were communicating. All those things turned out to be lies. And keep in mind, Caitlin, they had this video, all right? They weren't guessing. They could see clearly what happened, and they were spreading a story that was clearly untrue. And if it wasn't for the Washington Post, we wouldn't even be having this conversation because they were trying to suppress it and not allow it to be public.
Congressman Adam Smith, we will see what happens next here and if there is a public hearing into this. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it.
Yeah, because they had a private one, guys. It's crazy, y'all. It's
CNN
crazy.
has learned that Admiral Frank Mitch Bradley, who oversaw the operation, told lawmakers today on the Hill that the two survivors did not, as some defense officials have been claiming for months behind the scenes, radio for backup before a second strike killed them. That's according to two sources with direct knowledge of today's closed-door briefings, during which a select group of senators and Congress members were shown classified video of the strikes. Democratic Congressman Jim Himes, who saw the footage, called it, quote, one of the most troubling things I've seen. A short time later, he elaborated on that with CNN Chick Tapper.
The video was enormously disturbing, and I can't describe it in detail, but to tell you that the initial strike, as you might imagine, when a piece of munitions falls on a small boat, the immense amount of damage caused a huge amount of fire, and ultimately the end result was two individuals without any weaponry, any tools of any kind, clinging to a wrecked boat, really what looked like flotsam. And we observed them for a long time, and the commanders involved said that they believed that there might be some chance.
So my question is this. This guy right here, Representative Himes, seen the video, is talking about basically his feelings about what he's seen or whatever the case may be. I see y'all down there talking about some fake news. How is it fake when you got people who are inside of the meeting basically just talking about what they seen? They seen the video. How's their opinions fake? Let me know down there. I'm just trying to see something because I see a lot of people saying fake news. CNN. Would it matter if it was on Fox? Would it matter where it came? These are people that were inside of there. They watched the video. I mean, maybe their opinions or views of what they seen don't align with yours, but does that make it fake? All CNN did was record them saying what they're saying. What's going on? What's going on, man? Come on, man. Y'all got to stop this.
What the fuck? What the fuck is going on?
Hey, y'all got to stop this, man. What is wrong with y'all? But anyway,
could be rescued, that there might be some chance that the cocaine on board could be recovered. But these two individuals, to anyone looking at this thing, would say are moments away from slipping under the waves. The decision was taken to kill them, and that is in fact what happened. That was pretty hard to watch, I must say.
Well, not everyone who saw the video shares that view. Arkansas Republican Senator Tom Cotton, for one.
The first strike, the second strike, and the third and the fourth strike on September 2nd were entirely lawful and needful, and they were exactly what we would expect our military commanders to do. I saw two survivors trying to flip a boat loaded with drugs down for the United States, back over so they could stay in the fight. I didn't see anything disturbing about it. What's disturbing to me is that millions of Americans have died from drugs being run to America by these cartels.
Again, Admiral Bradley said that, at least when it came to radioing for help or backup, the survivors did not do that. According to our sources, said they did not appear to have radio or other communications devices. Now, you'll remember defense officials have been quietly pushing back on criticism that this was a war crime by arguing in part that they were legitimate targets because they appeared to be radioing for help or backup. Now, today, Admiral Bradley said the two survivors were in no position to make a distress call. Now, if true, it marks yet another shift in a story that has changed considerably since it first broke in the Washington Post earlier this week.
If there were a second strike that killed wounded people wounded in the first strike, were you thinking
number one,
that
I
would be
don't.
legal?
Yeah. Number one, I don't know that happened. And Pete said he did not want them. He didn't even know what people were talking about. So we'll look into it. But no, I wouldn't have wanted that. Not a second strike. The first strike was very lethal. It was fine, and if there were two people around, but Pete said that didn't happen.
Does that make you?
I have great confidence.
You
in
say
that.
there's no second strike?
I don't know. I'm going to find out about it, but Pete said he did not order the death of those two men.
Now, quoting from the initial Washington Post story, quote, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth gave a spoken directive, according to two people with direct knowledge of the operation. The order was to kill everybody, one of them said, which Secretary Hegseth denies, in which the president, as you heard there, said neither he nor Hegseth knew anything about. The next day, the story changed somewhat, with the White House, along with Secretary Hegseth, putting the focus squarely on Admiral Bradley.
On September 2nd, Secretary Hegseth authorized Admiral Bradley to conduct these kinetic strikes. Admiral Bradley worked well within his authority and the law, directing the engagement to ensure the boat was destroyed and the threat to the United States of America was eliminated.
To clarify, Admiral Bradley was the one who gave that order for a second strike.
And he was well within his authority to do so.
Now, that same admiral seems to have been lawmakers and now us another window into what actually happened. I want to bring in Congressman Jake Auchincloss. Congressman, what is this new information that Admiral Bradley reportedly says that the survivors of the initial strike did not appear to have radio or other communications devices and were in no position to make a call, a distress call? Does it change the government's argument that the secondary strike was legal and justified? Does it, in your opinion, should it?
Anderson, good evening. Doesn't change my interpretation of the events. It makes them more horrific, but I've long stated that these are illegal. I commanded a joint training mission to Central.
Hey guys, let's take time to double tap that screen. Most definitely those likes up. We're way light on the likes, man. We got 600 people in the building, 124 likes. Take time if you're on the mobile device to double tap that screen or click those three dots and hit the thumbs up, guys. It helps out the channel. It'd be greatly appreciated. Make sure you're subscribing to the channel if you're new as well, man. This is everything that I'm getting. And we're going to go to some other news sources for you who down there that don't like CNN. We're going to go see what the other ones are saying about all of this as well. So just hold tight. But most definitely double tap that screen if you're on a mobile device or click those three dots, hit that thumbs up, guys.
America to do drug interdiction operations. I work with Panamanians, I work with Colombians, I commanded reconnaissance, Marines, and naval officers. I know what drug interdiction looks like. It's riverine training, it's jungle training. It is not killing shipwrecked sailors. This is not an operation that falls under the law of armed conflict. This is an operation that falls under law enforcement maneuvers, and neither the first nor the second strike, in my interpretation, are legal, and they are not going to keep Americans safe from drug inflow.
I talked to Senator Tammy Duckworth a short time ago, and one of the things she was saying is that, look, this is not, in her opinion, this is not about necessarily the, these two men and narco traffickers, but what if in the future, if the U.S. is doing this, an American pilot is shot down, is floating in a dinghy and to radio for help, would some force kill him and say, well, look, the U.S. is doing this, we can do this too? Would it change somehow the rules of war if this is not illegal?
I certainly agree with the senator that the United States respecting international standards and humanity is critical, both for who we are as a country, but also for how we want our citizens to be treated. I would also agree with her that as horrific as these details about these two shipwrecked sailors are, it's not actually the central point. The central point here in these operations in Central America is that this is blood for oil version 2.0. Just like 20 years ago in Iraq, when another Republican president got this country into military adventurism in pursuit of oil, Donald Trump is trying to get the United States involved in military operations in Venezuela because they have the world's largest oil reserves, and Chevron has a joint operating agreement for those reserves, and the president is trying to hook up the U.S. oil majors.
According to a source with direct knowledge of the briefing, Admiral Bradley ordered the second strike to destroy the remains of the vessel, killing the survivors on the grounds it appeared that part of the vessel remained afloat because it still contained cocaine. Does that rationale make sense to you?
That they were allowed to under the law of armed conflict, and again, the law of armed conflict does not apply here because this is not an armed conflict. And I know that because I'm a member of Congress and I never voted to go to war with Venezuela. That's what make LOAC apply here. But even supposing that LOAC was applying to this situation, you're only allowed to strike a disabled vessel if there's reason to believe that that vessel could be brought back into armed combat against another U.S. vessel. That is so clearly what was not the case here, that it just makes that rationale ludicrous. But again, that rationale is 2 and 3 orders removed from the actual central point, which is that we shouldn't be engaged with in military operations against Venezuela in the first place. Americans do not want a blood for oil campaign. The president does not have the authority to wage it, and he certainly doesn't have the justification to wage it as inhumanely as he is.
As we mentioned, President Trump just yesterday said he supports releasing the video of the second strike. Do you actually expect that to happen? Because obviously the administration has been very eager to share, some videos of other strikes.
I don't know, but I will make this prediction, Anderson, which is that Secretary Hegseth is going to find a military officer to make the fall guy in this. He's going to try to lay the blame on a service member. He won't try to take the blame himself.
It's interesting you say that because in one of his public statements early on about Admiral Bradley was, that everybody should know I have his back, I have the military's back, but it was Bradley who made the order, which is kind of, it's saying you have somebody's back, and yet it's also pointing out that they have a target on their back.
We'll find someone with stars on their shoulder to take the blame, because Secretary Hegseth ultimately does not have the integrity to own this decision.
Congressman Jake Auchincloss, I appreciate your time tonight. Thank you. Joining me now is former Congressman and military veteran Adam Kinzinger. Congressman, what do you make of all that we have learned today?
Congressman.
This idea, this latest exclusive CNN reporting, that part of the testimony today was that there was not a radio, or that they were not radioing for help or radioing for something.
Let's double tap that screen, guys. Get the likes up. They way low. We should have way over 200. Double tap that screen, guys.
For help and trying to gather the drugs back up. That was actually the argument. And the other thing I would say, by the way, is even if they were calling for help, you would think the military would want to stay and observe who comes, right? And then maybe interdict that boat the way we used to interdict boats, by shooting the engine out and sending another boat to interdict it. But this is really tough to see any case in which people hanging on to survive doesn't not just violate LOAC, it violates the maritime law. We used to, but you would read stories about pirates back in the day that would be rescued out of the sea, because there's an understanding that the second, whether you're military or civilian, the second you're basically floating in distress, it is the requirement to pull them out of the water. And it doesn't matter, Anderson, if you're a bad person or a good person. It doesn't even matter if you're on drugs or whatever. At any point when you are distressed in the water, it becomes incumbent on whoever can to rescue that person. And this is the opposite of what happened.
The U.S. military says it has launched a new strike on an alleged drug boat, this time in the Pacific, killing...
Hold on, I don't want to go there yet. Hold on real quick. Hold on, let me stop this. All right, so since y'all don't like, let's see the lawmakers, guys. Basically, some of the people who viewed this video react. to what it is that they saw. You know, a lot of people are saying that Hegseth is just placing the blame on Bradley, guys, basically saying that he doesn't want to take accountability for what he did, so he's putting it off on Bradley, which is this guy right here, you know, and saying that he is the one that gave the order, you know, that he didn't do it. Talking about Hegseth saying that he didn't do it. Let's see what lawmakers think about all of this. No, this is not CNN. This is CBS. Now, what do y'all think about that? Y'all hate CNN? Is CBS credible? Who's credible as a news source? Let me know.
Of the House and Senate Armed Services and Intelligence Committees, that he ordered that strike after it was determined 2 survivors from the initial attack were trying to climb back onto the boat and retrieve what source describes as illegal narcotics. The operation has several lawmakers demanding more information, calling it a potential war crime and asking more on Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth's role in it. CBS News congressional correspondent Nicole Killian is on Capitol Hill. With
Now CBS is a joke.
Well, some are talking, others aren't. But
Let's go.
Have shared some details about this briefing, particularly some of the video that was shown to several members of Congress with respect to this strike, particularly that second strike in question, after there were a pair of survivors seen clinging to a boat, but the accounts of what happened next appear to differ. Take a listen to what 2 members of Congress shared with reporters a short time ago.
But what I saw in the room was one of the most troubling things I've seen in my time in public service. You have 2 individuals in clear distress, without any means of locomotion, with a destroyed vessel, who are killed by the United States.
Saw 2 survivors trying to flip a boat loaded with drugs bound for the United States back over so they could stay in the fight.
So again, the accounts there differ a little bit depending on who you talk to. You know, we did hear from some other members who didn't necessarily want to go into detail, specifically Senate Armed Services Chair Roger Wicker, who told me that he does believe that members of the House and Senate, there could be others who would like to get briefed on this. When I asked him if he thought that be additional hearings that would take place following these briefings. So again, this investigation, both by the House Armed Services and Armed Services Committee, continues, and in some cases, according to members, in light of this briefing, is just now getting underway.
And President Trump standing by, Secretary Pete Hegseth. What about Congress?
Well, look, I mean, you have some lawmakers, particularly many Democrats, who are calling for the secretary's resignation, but in some cases,
they want Hegseth out of there.
Calls, as many of them have been calling for his resignation for some time. Others defending their vote against his confirmation at the beginning of this Congress. But look, you know, some of this is related to this incident involving the boat strikes. For others, it has to deal with this Signalgate report that was just released by the Department of Defense or Department of War's Inspector General, which found that some military information would have been shared by the Secretary's participation in that Signal group chat earlier this year regarding some airstrikes in Yemen. So that said, there are a number of reasons why some lawmakers, again, mostly Democrats, would like to see the secretary go, but for the most part, Republicans appear to be standing by the secretary. Leader John Thune, the Senate Majority Leader, said earlier today that he continues to serve at the pleasure of the president.
Nicole, thank you.
Here go another account, guys.
Admiral Bradley and the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff did the right thing. And Admiral Bradley defended decision.
Where's the outrage a while ago? It was some people that was showing on CNN and other channels that were saying, yeah, man, I think that they are at fault, you know, whatever. Y'all was, this is hogwash. Oh my God, this is such crap. I can't believe they're saying such a thing. Got this guy up here saying, I think they did the right thing, you know, everything. See, y'all just be on some other stuff. Y'all make me laugh. It's so funny. But let's go.
And Admiral Bradley has a storied career, and he has my respect, and he should have the respect of all of us. But what I saw in that room was one of the most troubling things I've seen in my time in public service. you have two individuals in clear distress without any means of locomotion with a destroyed vessel who are killed by the United States.
Can you tell us a little bit more about exactly what was so troubling? What were some of the things that troubled you?
Under the DoD manual for abiding by the laws of armed conflict, the specific example given of an impossible action is attacking a shipwreck. Any American who sees the video that I saw will see the United States military attacking shipwrecked sailors. Bad guys, but
he lying too.
attacking
Okay.
shipwrecked sailors. There's a whole set of contextual items that the Admiral explained. Yes, they were carrying drugs. They were not in the position to continue their mission in any way. We don't, people will someday see this video and they will see that that video shows, if you don't have the broader context, an attack on shipwrecked sailors.
Wow.
The last thing I'm going to say is that the Admiral confirmed that there had not been a kill them all order, and that there was not an order to grant no court.
But does it exonerate Hexet? Does it exonerate him?
Do you think the video should be released publicly?
I do. Yeah, I want to thank Admiral Bradley and General Kane for coming to brief about the strikes on September 2nd, which were righteous strikes. These are narco-terrorists who are trafficking drugs that are destined for the United States.
I just laugh because y'all are funny. I ain't lying. Like, these are people who basically watched this video. These are senators and people of that nature were put into place, to do what they do. And they watched the video. They watched it. They seen it. We ain't even seen it. They seen it. And they're just giving their opinions on what it is that they saw. And y'all are down there like, oh my God, he's lying. No, he's lying. He's not telling the truth. He watched the video. You ain't even seen the video. We ain't even seen the video. They seen it. So how y'all gonna tell them that they're lying? The video that y'all ain't never even seen. I'm just saying, that is funny.
To kill thousands of Arkansans and millions of Americans. The first strike, the second strike, and the third and the fourth strike on September 2nd were entirely lawful and needful, and they were exactly what we would expect our military commanders to do.
What exactly did you see in terms of the video of the second strike? Were there survivors?
I saw two survivors trying to flip a boat loaded with drugs down for the United States, back over so they could stay in the fight. And potentially, given all the context we heard, of other narco-terrorist boats in the area coming to their aid to recover their cargo and recover those narco-terrorists. And just like you would blow up a boat off the Somali coast or the Yemeni coast, and you'd come back and strike it again if it still had terrorists and it still had explosives or missiles, admirably, Secretary had said exactly what we would expect them to do.
Did the JAG tell us?
This guy said they were right to do what they do. Y'all don't agree with him? He lying too?
No, I didn't see anything disturbing about it. What's disturbing to me is that millions of Americans have died from drugs being run to America by these cartels. What's gratifying to me is that the president has made the decision finally, after decades of letting it happen, that we're going to take the battle to them. And we're going to continue to strike these boats until cartels learn their lesson that their drugs are no longer coming to America.
Did a military JAG say that the follow-on strikes were all lawful?
Yes, look, this is not like a firefight in some cave in Afghanistan that had 3 people. This was witnessed by literally hundreds of uniformed and civilian personnel at the Pentagon, at Fort Bragg, at other installations. Dozens of them were lawyers. Everybody was watching. Everybody had seen the intelligence and the legal basis leading up to these strikes. Everyone was present during it. And that continues to be the case. There's been no change in the guidance or the order that the Secretary has given to our troopers. And in subsequent strike, there's an example where survivors actually were shipwrecked and distressed and not trying to continue on their mission. And they were treated, as they should be, as non-combatants. They were picked up by U.S. forces, just an example of how, of course, our military always obeys the laws of war. Our military also acts within appropriate lawful authority to target these narco-terrorists.
But Congressman Himes also said that according to what he saw in that video, the two who survived trying to get back on the boat, there was no way they could have conducted further operations or anything like that. Do you disagree with?
Jim may disagree with the entire operation. He may be okay with drug boats running to America, or at least thinking that it's an effective tactic to interdict them. I just disagree with that. These are narco-terrorist, foreign designated terrorist organizations who are bringing drugs to our shores that have killed millions of Americans and thousands of Arkansans. If you think these strikes are justified, righteous, as I do, and I want them to continue, then of course the second strike, when you have two survivors who are trying to get their boat back over and continue on their mission, remain in the battle. Unlike a subsequent strike in which there was no such indication, and they were what's called distressed or shipwrecked under the laws of the sea and the law of armed conflict, and our military went out and picked them up.
Is it your expectation that these strikes will continue?
It's my expectation and a deep hope that these strikes will continue.
What about on land? The president has said that strikes could happen on land. Is that something you would support?
Necessary to stop the flow of drugs into the United States and protect our communities and our children, we should take force to these cartels wherever they are operating.
Should the video be more common as strikes continue?
Say again?
Should briefings become far more common as strikes continue?
Now look, it's not Congress's role to sharpshoot every single tactical decision. This was the first strike, so understandably the Secretary and Admiral Bradley wanted to be involved in it. But subsequent strikes, again, we don't expect admirals and the Secretary of Defense to be approving patrols in Iraq or Afghanistan during the war on terror in those places. They shouldn't be involved in every single decision here, nor should Congress be sitting there sharpshooting and Monday morning quarterback.
But yesterday, the president reported that this is war regarding the actions with Venezuela. So that seems like an escalation that Congress would want to be a part of.
Well, look, they came up here today to brief us because of the lies that were in the Washington Post last Friday to clear the air. I advise the next time to immediately put out what they told us today, because if they had put it out on Friday or Saturday, you wouldn't have the 6 days of controversy. I think you would have had the American people very satisfied that we have such a high degree of professionalism in our military, and the president is taking the battle to these narco-terrorists.
So you believe the whole video should be released its entirety?
I mean, I'll leave that to the Department of Defense and whether or not there's anything in there they don't want to release. I didn't see anything in there that concerned me. Look, these videos have been made and released for 25 years. Like, you've all seen videos that have been released of drone strikes or helicopter strikes on terrorist groups in Afghanistan or Syria or Iraq or Yemen. There's nothing novel or new here. Just because it happened on water doesn't make any difference happening on land.
So there was no change in protocol or policy from September 2nd through the rest of the strikes?
Nope. General Kane made it clear multiple times under questions from me that the orders have not changed from the first strike to today. So the actions the military took on September 2nd and the actions they took on a subsequent strike in which there were distressed shipwreck that were deemed non-combatant is under the same legal standards.
I don't know my eyes deceiving me.
Was there a kill all order from second?
Boy, if y'all don't get the likes, double tap that screen, guys. Why ain't we over 200 likes yet? Why we at 172 with 600 people in the building? Let's double tap that screen, guys. If you're on a mobile device, double tap the screen of your mobile phone or click those three dots and hit that thumbs up. We are way under par when it comes to the like button. Let's get those likes all the way up, guys. Let's double tap that screen or click those three dots and hit that thumbs up. It helps out the channel. No reason why we shouldn't have 200-300 likes by now. Yeah, man. Let's get the likes up. You know what I'm saying? Let's double tap that screen. You know, let's most definitely show the channel some respect by double tapping that screen. It helps out the channel, man. And I don't know about y'all, but I most definitely want. I'm glad you left. Get your ass up out of here. I'm just saying, if you ain't gonna double tap the screen, you might as well go. I'll broadcast to one person. At least they hit the like button. And we most definitely need to get those likes all the way up. I ain't asked you for $1. I ain't asked you for no money. at all. But I most definitely want y'all to double tap that screen and hit that like button, man. 190 on the like with 600, 700 people, that is very disrespectful. I'm about to start disrespecting y'all. Let's get those likes up. Yeah, we're gonna stop the whole show behind my like button. Yeah, let's get that like. Let's get the likes up. You know what I'm saying? Let's most definitely get those likes up. Yeah, we most definitely should have more likes than that. I don't know what y'all think this is. Yeah. And if anybody type any disrespectful comments in my chat, get them the hell up out of here. Like, yeah. If you type anything disrespectful, we're gonna get you right up out of here. You know what I'm talking about? I'm just saying. Yeah, my likes up, man. I don't know what y'all doing. Definitely I had 700, 800 people in the building. I done asked nicely 45 million times, man, please hit the like button. Yeah, y'all ain't like that. I guess you know what I'm saying? You're as good as you're good. I understand. What's up, Money Mo? Yeah, hit the like button, double tap that screen, or don't double tap it. But get your good hating self right up out of here. I'm just saying. Yeah, we'll broadcast to nobody. Ain't no off my chin. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying. I ask, just please hit the like button. No double tap the screen is illegal. All right, let's get Jeremy right up on the rocket ship. We'll holler at you, buddy. You know what I'm saying? You just got deported. You know what I'm saying? We deport people faster than Trump deports illegal immigrants over here. Most definitely don't mind, getting you right up out of here. Get him on the rocket ship. Let's get him right up out of here, guys. All right, man. You know what I'm saying? Let's continue back where we was at, man. Shout out to everybody that did hit the like button. I most definitely appreciate you.
No, both. Bradley was very clear that he was given no such order, not to give no quarter or to kill them all. He was given an order that, of course, was written down in great detail. The military always does.
But was there a vocal order as well?
There was no vocal order either. Well, I mean, I think what we saw today and what Senator Wicker and Senator Reed on the Armed Services Committee saw today, very thorough inquiry into exactly what happened. I can't say what's going to happen on the committee in the future, but I think what happened today, General Admiral Bradley coming up and showing us the videos, kind of talking through everything that led up to September 2nd, is a very thorough review of what's in.
No more information is needed.
I don't personally need any more information now.
If the
Senator, how far
administration
apart
does,
were those strikes on September 2nd?
I mean, they're several minutes apart. You had obscurance, both the smoke from the first strike and then cloud cover as well. I couldn't tell you exactly how long.
but minutes,
They weren't.
not,
I think minutes. Yeah.
minutes, not hours.
Senator,
I don't think so.
Senator, you said that the strikes were righteous, that there were 4 of them. Would you have taken the same shot if you're in that position?
If I was Admiral Bradley and I'd been delegated that authority, absolutely. And I'd do it again.
Was there more than 4
Based on
shots?
based on the briefing,
No, there's 4.
based on the briefings you received, do you agree with the president that we are at war in these engagements?
These drug cartels have been waging war against the American people for decades, and we are finally simply joining it.
We are.
All right, I got to go vote.
Should there be an AUMF?
Was it both?
Lawmakers give their opinions of what it is that they saw during this meeting, where they watched this video of the boat strikes.
I think it'd be hard to watch the series of videos and not be troubled. So I don't reach the same conclusion that Senator Cotton does if you're describing it as righteous. But I have more policy questions than ever about the framing of the mission, the rules of engagement. I'm not going to get into the details, but there were some things that I was briefed on that are reassuring about process, about intelligence, about the role of the JAGs. But more broadly, what we are asking the men and women of our armed forces, and in particular special forces, to do, I think still lacks clear justification. That's not specific to this operation or this strike. That's the entire undertaking. Exactly how narcotics being trafficked in the Eastern Caribbean on the open ocean connect to harming the United States at a level that justifies lethal strikes repeatedly, I have not yet been persuaded of. Given that we do interdiction in the open ocean with Coast Guard and DEA officers, agents over and over and over, why these particular boats in this particular region ought to be struck by missiles and ought to be tweeted out by the secretary rather than interdicted by the Coast Guard and then the crew interrogated for better information about the operations of narcotics traffickers. These incidents are happening a long way from the United States in the open ocean in the Eastern Caribbean. I am not questioning how our armed forces are carrying out their orders. I'm questioning why the administration is engaging in this campaign and whether this is justified and the best use of these remarkable capabilities of the Navy and our special forces.
What Senator Cotton said is that video that he saw, that these survivors went back into the boat, but were trying to move ahead with their efforts to traffic drugs or provide information to other, what he said were narco terrorists, and that's why it made sense to strike this boat again. Did you come away with the same impression?
I did not.
How did you guys come up with such different conclusions?
I don't know.
But why do you come up with your own conclusion? Impression of this?
Well, you're now asking me to respond
Well,
to
no.
a characterization by
Explain
Senator Cotton that I didn't hear.
Explain your impression of what happened with those two survivors.
In a second strike, they were killed, and in a third and fourth strike, the boat was sunk. But I'm not going to get into a lot more of the details around that because I don't think that's appropriate given this was in a classified setting. There's been lots of public reporting about this, and I'm trying to make it less inaccurate, not more inaccurate. The underlying judgment that frames this entire operation is that if there is a boat with narcotics and people who are affiliated with a narcotics trafficking organization, that's a legitimate target. I've still got questions about that.
Would you want to hear from Admiral Brady about Hex's leadership and the administration's move with the Department of War?
Yes.
He retires next week. Is that something you were pushing for, like open testimony from him?
I had I'd asked for briefings on these matters for some time. Look, I appreciate that we had the chairman of the Joint Chiefs and the JSOC commander, later SOCOM commander, the admiral with us today. But this campaign's been going on for months. There have been dozens of strikes. There have been, I think, nearly 80 people killed now. I think it deserved a fuller and more clear briefing and legal justification well before this month.
Was Secretary Hegseth responsible for this strike?
Secretary Hegseth is responsible for all of these strikes because he's responsible for the campaign and for the rules of engagement and for how it's being carried out.
Senator Cotton said he expects these strikes to continue. Do you think there will be more briefings with these?
There should be. There has to be more and better briefing about why this is the right thing for us to be doing. Because if the President of the United States pardons the former President of Honduras, who
Let's
was
go.
convicted by an American court of trafficking hundreds of tons of
500 tons.
Not in general, but specifically to the United States. If President Trump can pardon a convicted narco-terrorist trafficker, how does this campaign where we are targeting and killing folks in the open ocean to prevent trafficking of drugs anywhere, how is that legitimate? That's a policy question. That is not a question rooted in the operation or armed forces. That's about the larger judgment, which the Secretary and President are responsible for.
I'm sorry if you've already answered this, but can you say anything about whether the original orders that were given by Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, Jim, it sounds as if he did not order to kill everyone on board?
Waiting for some follow-up from this briefing, but that certainly was presented.
And then we also heard from Senator Cotton that the boat was flipped over and the survivors were trying to flip it back right side, your understanding?
That's a fair characterization.
Was the strike after the survivors had climbed back in the boat? Or did they ever climb back in the boat? Feels unclassified.
I'm trying to avoid making something unclassified that's currently classified to the best of my understanding. Senator Cotton came out with understandings of what we saw.
And then
Do you
was there
understand-
a
do you
jag
understand
in
what-
the room making,
Yes.
telling them?
Do you understand why Secretary Hegseth said that he was not at why the second strike happened when it was carried out?
I don't understand.
Hold on, let me refresh this real quick. Matter of fact, I'm not. So we got people on both sides of the aisle, guys. Some that agree and say that Hegseth did the right thing, and we got some that say that he didn't, right? We got some that say, hey, man, these are just fishing boats. What's up, Cupcake? We got people that say, hey, man, they're blowing up fishing boats. People are going fishing, their boats are being blown up. They ain't smuggling no drugs. You know, you got some that say they are, right? Well, we got some people, you know, a family in particular has filed a lawsuit. Yeah, they have filed a lawsuit, you know, claiming that basically their loved one was on out, you know, fishing and was unalive by the U.S. Check this out.
The first known formal complaint is now filed over a deadly U.S. strike in the Caribbean. The family of a Colombian fisherman, Alejandro Carranza, says he was killed in this September 15 strike that you're seeing on your screen. They want compensation and an end to these killings. Their attorney, Dan Kovac, is joining us right now. First of all, what are you seeking in this petition against the United States officials?
Well, as you mentioned, the family, of course, wants compensation. They've lost their chief breadwinner. By the way, he earned his money by being a fisherman. He was out fishing for marlin and tuna when he was killed. But the other thing they want equally is to end these killings. They want to deter the United States from continuing to do this in the future.
The Trump administration has gone very hard on those in these boats. We've talked to many different lawmakers who have yet to see the
This man and his son were out fishing, guys,
or
allegedly.
drug traffickers, but that is what the administration is saying that they are. What is the evidence that you will use to show that your client, not that your client, as you say, is a fisherman?
What's up, Walter?
Well, first of all, the onus is not on us to prove he was innocent. It's on them to prove he was guilty. By the way, all these people are innocent because where I come from, innocent until proven guilty. But in any case, his family, the Fishermen's Association that he was part of, can all say that he was a fisherman.
What's up?
That's what he was doing. But again, if you want to prove someone's guilty, you need to take them to court. You need to try them. You just don't summarily kill them. So again, the onus is on the U.S. government here.
Yeah. In any case, the onus is on those who are in the process of trying to prove what someone was or was not doing.
Hey,
I want
pretty.
to ask you though, how certain you are that you will see any compensation by suing U.S. officials, in that the client that you have is not a U.S. citizen.
Yeah, well, that's not a problem. That's why we brought this before the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights, which gives a venue for non-U.S. citizens within the Western Hemisphere to bring a petition against the United States as a state for various remedies, including compensation. Now, with that said, you know, certain get compensation. I mean, whenever you bring a case, you can't be certain of that. But this is an avenue to do that, and this case combined with public pressure, which I think is building against these strikes, I do think we can get them compensation, and I think this case will play a part in ending these killings.
What message is the family trying to send directly to the Department of Defense, to the Defense Secretary, and to ultimately the President of the United States?
I mean, what they're doing is wrong. It's morally wrong. It's legally wrong. You know, at one point, Pete Hegseth even admitted he doesn't even know who's on these boats. And in this case, he didn't know. I hope he didn't know that this was just a fisherman who was killed. And again, they want this to stop. They want the U.S. to live up to its own values as a country that values democracy and due process and human rights. And I think the U.S. has really gone off the rails in terms of these killings. It's really destroyed its status in the world.
Dan Kovalik, thank you for coming on. We'll be following this case. I hope you will stay in touch with us to see what happens, as this is the very first person to come forward to sue.
So they suing the government, guys.
Looked into now. I do appreciate it.
Right now, lawmakers are demanding answers, and Republicans appear to be growing increasingly dismayed by Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth after that controversial follow-up strike on an alleged drug boat in the Caribbean in September.
Do you have confidence in Secretary Hegseth?
We'll make our decisions based on the facts of the case. We haven't got the facts.
Reports say they want Hegseth gone.
Confident? Can you say that? Can you say if you do?
But they is.
And joining us now to discuss this and more, Democratic Senator Jeff Berkley of Oregon. He serves on the important Foreign Relations Committee. Senator, thanks so much for joining us. As you know, CNN is reporting that Pentagon officials have been making the case for that follow-up strike because survivors were still, quote, in the fight, their words, in the fight, and radioing in for help. Is that a satisfactory justification for you?
Oh, absolutely not. These are extrajudicial killings. Let's start with the strike. There is a legal way to board a boat and check and see if there are drugs done by the Coast Guard all the time. But the first strike was extrajudicial. And then you have two helpless men clinging to debris, and they made a radio call for help. We're getting details on that hopefully soon. But two helpless men clinging to debris, radioing for rescue, hardly means they're in the fight. They weren't in the fight even before the first strike. How can they be in the fight when they're helpless clinging to debris?
And the Defense Department has argued, that theoretically they could have continued the mission by radioing from help and continuing the tracking. What they're arguing, but based on what you just said, do you believe war crime was committed? And if so, where do you see the accountability?
If this was
it's crazy. They say if you're listening to CNN, you're a moron. I'm listening to the congressman, who basically may have watched this video. He's giving his account. CNN ain't telling him nothing to say. He's saying what he want to say. Why you mad at CNN? Well, y'all crazy.
Action of war, which is still under dispute, then it would be a war crime. If it was not, it was a murder. In either case, again, the right way to find out if there are drugs aboard a boat is you stop the boat, you board it, you investigate it, and in the process you learn if there are drugs, learn about the strategies involved, which gives you information to help dismantle a broader operation. Blowing a boat up, not even knowing much about what the boat is doing, simply destroys that type of information. So it's not only extrajudicial, it is also stupid. And so this is vast concerns about judgment. And by the way, of course, this is all a prelude to the possible strikes on Venezuela.
And as you know, according to sources familiar with the Pentagon Inspector General's report, Secretary Hegseth risked endangering the lives of U.S. troops by sharing very sensitive, highly classified war plans on the messaging app called Signal back in March. Hegseth and the Pentagon are painting the report in a very different light. They're saying it's a total exoneration, their words. Total exoneration.
Absolutely, IGP. They all say the same thing.
Wolf, I spent several years working for.
They interview the same people.
In those years, there were posters that loose lips sink ships, And I keep thinking about that in the context of how could anyone in the Pentagon say, we are now going to this information about when we're conducting a military operation, including when the first strike will happen, would possibly be classified. Hegseth is arguing that, well, he unclassified the information right before he put in the signal. This is an after the action defense that makes no sense to anybody who has any understanding that that type of sensitive information really does endanger a military operation.
So between that Pentagon Inspector General report and the controversial follow-up strike in the Caribbean, do you believe Secretary Hegseth should either resign or be removed from his office?
Absolutely.
Well, what are the conversations like?
He said Hegseth should be
colleagues
removed.
Across the aisle, do you get the sense that that is a growing sentiment?
There has been such a sense of colleagues that they are not ready to confront Trump over the mistakes of this administration. We have started to see cracks in that following the November election a month ago, where they're starting to feel like they have hitched their wagon to a horse that's going to take them over a cliff, and they better start separating themselves some. So it'll be very interesting to see what the Republicans say after they come out of these briefings today. I think some may say they have serious concerns. It may be more gentle language like that, but we are certainly starting to see that my Republican colleagues in the Senate are getting very nervous about being tied to not just the Hegseth, some of the overall actions of this administration.
Lord, all right. So yeah, so much with the boat strike situation. Like y'all, they say, hey man, CNN liars, CBS liars, Fox News liars, man. So MSNBC liars, man. It's not any news channel that's telling the truth out here. Everybody is lying. All right, I get it. No matter where the source come from, if it disagrees with whatever somebody's opinion is, then they're lying. I understand completely. All right. So on to the next situation with Trump, guys, allegedly pardoning this drug kingpin. What y'all say about that? That's most definitely been in the news as well. We hear all this going on with the blowing up of the boats and this and that to stop the flow of drugs into the United States. And then they say that Trump turns around and pardons a kingpin. I'm just saying, who is responsible for bringing over 500 tons of narcotics to America. He gets a pardon. Yeah, another lie, but they reporting on it everywhere, Ballin. They most definitely saying that Trump most definitely pardoned a drug kingpin. Hold on real quick. Let me get to it. Hold on. Right here. Let's go right here. This is the one I was looking for. I wasn't looking for the other one yet. But they're most definitely reporting on this on a lot of stations, guys. What is your take on the drug kingpin being pardoned by Trump? As Trump has on war against drugs, guys. Let me know. You know what I'm saying? Let me know down there in the comments. I guess MSNBC is lying too. All right. But it's on every station you can go find. Fox, CBS, everybody is talking about
killing of more than 80 men in the Caribbean, including 2 who were shipwrecked, as a way to save Americans from the deadly scourge of drugs. But then just this week, amidst this whole scandal, he pardoned a man who helped traffic more than 500 tons of cocaine into the U.S. Last year, the ex-president of Honduras, Juan Orlando Hernandez, was convicted here in the U.S. for basically running his country like a narco state.
The jury returned a verdict after a 2-week trial, convicting Hernandez of taking bribes from El Chapo's, that's the Mexican drug lord Sinaloa cartel, and others. He served as the president of Honduras from 2014 to 2022.
That bribe from El Chapo, by the way, was worth $1 million. Hernandez got 45 years in prison after prosecutors showed how, in exchange for cash
Let's
and
go,
election
Mr.
help from
50.
drug cartels, he protected the drug traffickers from police, even steered government contracts, their shell companies, so they could launder their drug money. The U.S.
Thank you, pretty. Appreciate it. I see your gift.
500,000 kilograms of United States-bound cocaine. That's over 550 tons. He was also convicted of conspiring to use and carry machine guns and destructive devices during the cocaine importation conspiracy. And yet,
he said it was the president of Honduras, not a drug trafficker. So what if El Chapo was the president of Mexico? Would it make a difference? I'm just saying. Hey, don't get mad. I'm just saying. So because this was the president of a country that and was behind or responsible for helping these narcotics make it to the Americas, it's okay because he was the president. So if El Chapo was the president of Mexico, would it be okay then? I'm just asking. He should give El Chapo a pardon too.
He walked out of a West Virginia prison on Tuesday, thanks to Donald Trump. Even Republicans in Congress are pretty worked up about this. How did this convicted drug dealer end up on Donald Trump's radar? Well, according to a new report from the Wall Street Journal, it was put there by insiders, including Roger Stone.
Thank you for the gifts,
who famously
Pretty.
got his own Trump pardon after 7 felony convictions for lying in the Russia probe, and former Congressman Matt Gaetz, who also reportedly sought a pardon from Trump when he's being investigated by the FBI for alleged sex trafficking of an underage girl. The New York Times subsequently reporting the sex work she was doing was so that she could save money for braces.
All right, so Pretty, the gifts.
Any wrongdoing, though a health ethics.
I don't know how much the ones that you were sending are, but the gifts, they are like super chats, super stickers on the regular layout. Over here they call gifts, you know what I'm saying? So appreciate it. It might cost 99 cents, might cost $2 or something like that, but that's what they are. But thank you for all the ones that you are sending.
Report found, quote, substantial evidence he used cocaine, ecstasy, and marijuana, and engaged in sexual activity with a 17-year-old girl. But both Gaetz and Stone say they got no
kind of like Cheers.
lobby for Hernandez's pardon. It was just a good deed. On Tuesday, a former DA agent who worked on the case told the Washington Post Hernandez's release was devastating. He said, quote, it means any attempt to work your investigations to the highest levels is meaningless.
Hey, well, every news channel out is fabricated news because they're all reporting on, you know, this situation when it comes to this guy being a kingpin. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying, like, this is most definitely happening. Whatever you say, but this is most definitely happening. It is most definitely a trending topic in the news. With Trump giving this guy a pardon. This is not made up. They ain't fabricating nothing. This is the truth. I even got Stephen A coming up next where he speaks on this entire situation with Trump allegedly pardoning this kingpin.
Liz Oyer served as the pardon attorney in Trump's Department of Justice until she was fired in March this year after she refused to, and I'm not making this up, reinstate actor Mel Gibson's gun rights. David Rode is a national security reporter for MS Now. And Liz, I guess I'll start with you as someone who worked as a pardon attorney at DOJ. Did you ever, in your time there, have you ever seen a pardon?
Let's go, Dominique.
Of this magnitude, of someone convicted of something so enormous and so sort of obviously politically toxic ever?
Absolutely not, Chris. I mean, this is a pardon that on its face should not have been granted. Case is not appropriate for a pardon under any one of the many criteria that the Justice Department has in place for.
Paul, I tell you what, I'll look up the Somalians in Minnesota. We'll see exactly what it is that you're talking about. I have no idea what you're talking about when you talk about the Somalians in Minnesota. But we'll go check it out because this is an unbiased channel over here, sir. Anything news that catches my attention, I most definitely bring it to the people. So if it's something worth seeing, you know, about the Somalians in Minnesota, I'm even promoting it for you. Yeah, hey guys, if y'all haven't, go check out the Somalians in Minnesota. See what's going on with that situation. You know, I'm gonna go check it out, and if it catches my attention, if I think it's something worth reporting, we'll get to it. How about that, Paul?
Considering pardons, just the scope of the crime in and of itself would be disqualifying under literally any other presidential administration. But take that together with the fact that this person was just sentenced a year ago, has served almost none of his sentence, was the president of a foreign country. It's just so inappropriate for clemency on so many different levels that it is really quite shocking.
I want to play for you, David, what Chris Coons said about this pardon. Take a listen.
If President Trump can pardon a convicted narco-terrorist trafficker, how does this campaign where we are targeting and killing folks in the open ocean to prevent their trafficking of drugs anywhere, how is that legitimate?
There's got to be a lot of Republicans on Capitol Hill saying the same thing, right?
Yes. I just met with a staffer for one, and they said this is what's so infuriating to them is this broad policy just doesn't make, whether it's the pardon, but also the attacks in the Caribbean, which is on cocaine that's actually headed towards Europe. Yet you're pardoning the president of Honduras, who allowed 500 tons of cocaine bound for the United States. The fentanyl comes through Mexico. So they almost said the policy was what's so frustrating, and some of them have gone public. There was just a National Review story that had Tom Tillis saying this is maddening, just talked about how terrible the optics of this pardon was, Susan Collins as well, and there's several others, Senator Kennedy also. So earlier, Representative Smith was talking about, there is a sliver of a chance that some Republicans might want to bring some oversight regarding these boat strikes and this entire policy. And so there's that critical mass. They sort of see themselves as Reagan traditionalists in a national security sense.
I mean, it's one thing if he took a little time between these two stories. I mean, it still wouldn't justify. It's a wild thing to do in the middle of it when just from one day to the next, he's saying things literally like, every 100 pounds of cocaine we stop, we save 22,000 lives. So I was like, wait, this guy's responsible for hundreds of thousands of lives and you're pardoning?
And it's a political thing too, going back to the boat strikes. Like, we're going to kill these people that are hanging on to wreckage because the president has unilaterally declared them to be enemy combatants and declared that the narco traffickers are waging war in the United States. And that's sort of a stretch in and of itself. But then we have to kill these two people. Like, it's so merciless on one side.
Right.
And then on the other side,
boundlessly merciful, just depthlessly merciful.
If it was a Biden administration prosecution, it should be reversed.
Okay.
And I think voters, that dissonance, we'll see people notice it.
You mentioned this was a Biden administration prosecution, which it was. Liz, that I think the craziest pardon we've yet encountered in some ways is the developer and former, president, I think, of the Denver Nuggets, who was basically convicted of rigging a bid for a new venue at Texas. So there's a University of Texas venue, means the Texas taxpayers pay for it. There's going to be two bidders. He goes to the other bid and says, hey, drop out and I'll cut you in on the subcontracts. This is what he's alleged to have done because he did not actually face trial over it. And then he submits the single bid, he gets a big chunk of money, and then he runs off and doesn't get money to the subcontractors. This guy's indicted by the Trump Department of Justice in July. It wasn't a Biden witch hunt. It's his own DOJ who put out press releases bragging about this prosecution in July.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, what is so stunning about these pardons is the lengths to which the president is to normalize corruption. All of these pardons have a common theme in that they involve individuals who have committed acts of corruption, often by government leaders at the highest levels. The pardon of Juan Orlando Hernandez, he's the leader of a foreign country, and Trump, I believe, sees something of himself in the man that made him grant this pardon.
Oh,
this
wow.
Developer, again, corrupting a bidding process that is supposed to be fair and open. The way in which pardons are being handed out is corrupt in and of itself because it is based on patronage. It's based on money and power and connections, not on merit, not on the traditional set of merit-based criteria that the Justice Department applies. And then they're being doled out to people who commit acts of corruption, including 11 elected officials to date have received presidential pardons just this year on both sides of the aisle. So Donald Trump is going to great lengths to use the power to essentially install a patronage system of government and normalize public corruption at every level.
All right. So there went one angle from MSNBC where they basically reported on the situation as well, that people are saying is fabricated. Okay, well, we got Stephen A. Smith, you know what I'm saying? He most definitely talked about this whole situation as well when it comes to the pardoning of the kingpin. I didn't make it up. That's what I call him, a kingpin.
I'm going to read the headline to you because I want to give credit where credit is due. President Donald Trump officially pardoned former Honduran President Juan Orlando Hernandez of a drug trafficking conviction amid criticism from Democrats and Republicans that it contradicts his narco trafficking crackdown in the Caribbean. Records from the Federal Bureau of Prisons show that Hernandez, the former two-term president of Honduras, was released from West Virginia's high-security USP Hazeltown prison on Monday.
Yeah, I see somebody down there talking about fake news. Man, everybody lying. I'm just saying, everybody ain't lying. It might be some people that's lying, but everybody ain't lying. And this is the headline on a majority of the channels, from the mainstream news to underground media. They most definitely saying the same thing, that Trump allegedly pardons a drug kingpin. This is him right here, and Trump most definitely did. He pardoned this guy.
The White House confirmed this morning that Trump had indeed issued that pardon. To reflect back, in 2024, Hernandez was handed a 45-year prison sentence for his role in trafficking roughly 400 tons of cocaine into the United States of America. 400 tons of cocaine. That's who just got pardoned, okay? 400 tons, okay? But Trump has framed the case as yet another example of overreach from the administration of former President Joe Biden.
It's Biden's fault.
Hernandez was, quote, according to many people that I greatly respect, treated very harshly and unfairly. This is what Trump wrote on a post on his Truth Social last week. Here's what he said for everybody, for those of you who missed it. Listen to what Trump's explanation was for pardoning the man.
You've made so clear how you want to keep drugs out of the U.S. Right. Can you explain more about why you would pardon a notorious drug trafficker?
Well, I don't know who you're talking about. Which
Juan Orlando Hernandez.
Well, I was asked by Honduras, the people of Honduras. They said it was a Biden setup. I don't mean Biden. Look, Biden didn't know he was alive.
A Biden setup.
Around resident desk surround Biden when he was there, which was about.
So it's not fake news. Oh, I thought it was fake news. It is not fake news. Trump is speaking on it. Here is Donald Trump speaking on why he pardoned this guy. Yeah, so it's not fake news. I thought y'all see, that's why I don't listen to y'all. Y'all just be down there typing
for pardoning the man.
You've made so clear how you want to keep drugs out of the U.S. Right. Can you explain more about why you would pardon a notorious drug trafficker?
Well, I don't know who you're talking
about. Yes, he did.
Well, I was asked by Honduras, many of the people of Honduras, they said it was a Biden setup. I don't mean Biden. Biden knew he was alive.
Paul, you'll do better on this channel not talking to me, buddy. Most definitely read all these comments. They were saying fake news, fake news, fake news. No, he didn't. No, he didn't. Fake news. They was most definitely saying that. And now that you got him here, now you talking about nobody said that. Let me tell you something, Paul. You'll last longer over here not talking to me. Continue to talk about the video. Don't talk to me. Shout out to Kevin for that gift. Yeah, don't talk to me, Paul. Talk to the chat. Talk about the information that's on the screen. Don't talk to me. I'm like President Trump, the guy you love on this channel. I'm Trump. If you talk to me and you say the wrong stuff, I will call Elon to get rocket ships in the chat and deport you the fastest. Yeah, I'm just saying, guy. Talk about what's on the screen. Don't talk to me.
But it was the people that surround the Resolute desk surround Biden when he was there, which was very little.
Don't worry about it, Paul. I didn't ask you to respect me. But one thing that I do know, I'm Trump on this channel. Let's get the rockets in the chat. Let's get Paul the hell up out of here. We'll holler at you, Paul. I hope your ship blow up in the stratosphere. See you later, my guy. It was fun, but we can't tolerate anymore. I didn't ask for your respect. I asked you to talk to the chat and don't talk to me. You did not follow direct orders, and me being the in chief of this channel, I'm sorry, sir. We must deport you. We'll holler at you.
Time. And the people of Honduras really thought he was set up, and it was a terrible. He was the president of the country. And they basically said he was a drug dealer because he was the president of the country. And they said it was a Biden administration stuff. And I looked at the facts and I agreed with them.
What evidence did you share that he was set up and that he wasn't?
When you take a look, I mean, they could say that you take any country you want. If somebody sells drugs in that country, that doesn't mean you arrest the president and put him in jail for the rest of his life. That includes this country, okay? Be honest. I mean, if somebody does something wrong, you put the president of the country in jail. They said it was a Biden administration setup, and you have a big race going on this week, next week. I think it's very interesting to see Honduras.
Let's go. Nature says moment of silence for the brave man that we lost today. R.I.P. Paul. Salute. Prayer hands in the chat. Prayer hands in the chat. You know what I'm saying? Y'all pray for him. Thank you, AJ, for the super chat. Yeah, man. Praying hands in the chat for Paul. May he never return back to this channel again, because we don't care if he never come back at all. He talking about he don't respect nothing. We don't respect you. Prayer hands for you, sir. We pray for your unsafe travels wherever you go.
That's what you're talking about, right?
Correct.
So you have that. That's Trump speaking about it. Criticism across the political spectrum has accompanied the president's decision, which comes with the White House under fire for its strikes on alleged drug traffickers in the Caribbean and locked in a public pressure campaign against Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro, a target of the administration for his alleged work with narco-terrorist organizations. See, we can look at it that way, right? Here's my point. Number one, for those on the left, some on the right, they are absolutely right when they point out to the president of the United States, how freaking hypocritical can you be? So you can bomb boats in the Caribbean, claiming that they were individuals trafficking drugs, but you let out a former president of Honduras who just got sentenced to 45 years in prison over a year ago for trafficking over 400 tons of cocaine. Make it make sense. How does that make sense? How is that consistent with the Trump administration as it pertains to addressing drug trafficking in our country? There's nothing that's consistent about that. It's flagrantly hypocritical. And it should be investigated by both houses of Congress on both sides of the aisle, so we make sure that our president is on the up and up about this, because it's not consistent with his policies. His. And you can claim it any way you want to, in my mind. But when you say that you don't want drugs coming into our country, that more than guns, fentanyl and cocaine and all of this other stuff is more harmful, but then you pardon a dude in a West Virginia prison that was supposed to be serving 55 years for trafficking, assisting in trafficking in over 400 tons of cocaine. I mean, damn. I mean, that don't make any sense. But rather than be judgmental and stop there, I decided to do some research because I thought it was important. And I thought that, if we're going to talk about stuff like this, let's talk about it, okay? Because as we sit here, we've got to ask ourselves several questions. It's certainly controversial, no doubt about it, okay? And it's very, very easy to hit the president on. Because it's controversial, it's inconsistent with his policies, it comes across as flagrantly hypocritical, and certainly not in the best interest of the United States of America, it appears. Not only that, to blame the Biden administration and to accuse them of overreach. You're going to accuse our government of overreach to serve at the behest of somebody who's a former president from another country? You're going to impugn the integrity and stain the political apparatus that exists within this country to be protective of somebody who has allegedly trafficked in or assisted in trafficking in 400 tons of cocaine? Come on now. There's nothing right about that. But with that being said, What about this? Does it fit Trump's pattern? I'm going to say it again. It's a question because I like to ask those. Does it fit Trump's pattern? Using military force to hit drug cartels that threaten Americans, pardoning Hernandez because he sees the former Honduran president as a political ally who was over-prosecuted under the previous administration. That sounds like Trump. Crack down on enemies. Cut deals with friends. That definitely sounds like Trump. If you remember, Hernandez was elected into office in 2014 and then again in 2017. Both times he had the support of President Trump. Candidate Trump, then President Trump in 2017. He had a support. Okay? So we got to take that into consideration. All right? And we got to ask ourselves those questions. Cutting deals with friends. That makes it less about drug policy and more about Trump's trademark mix of loyalty. And that's why both make sense in Trump's world. See, as I dig and I do the research and I listen to what everybody's talking about, you got Trump allies. What are they saying? Hernandez's conviction was an overreach by U.S. prosecutors during the Biden years, saying the Department of Justice treated a foreign head of state like a cartel boss without accounting for geopolitical context. This is what you're hearing. He helped us more than he hurt us. We're correcting a political prosecution. What has Trump complained about? Being friends with the right people. Folks engaging in overreach. And going and turning politicians prisoners. That's what he's been accusing this country of doing to him. It falls right in line with what he's saying. But it goes a step further than that. And that's why I thought it was important to bring this up. You have to understand, with Trump fighting with Maduro, you actually want friends and you want influence in Central America, particularly Honduras, where an election is unfolding. You got to remember that. And where migration pressure originates. What was Trump's problem? I want to deport folks. Where am I going to send them? If you're friends with a particular politician and somehow, some way he's repositioned to have some power because he's going to go right back to Honduras, then you've got a friend in that region of the world who, by the way, can assist in several things. Because as we look at it here, think about this here. Honduras and Venezuela do not share a border. Honduras is in Central America. Venezuela is in South America. All right? They're separated by several countries and the Caribbean Sea. We know this, all right? The Honduras president, Hernandez, and Maduro for Venezuela have never had a really particular meaningful relationship. They weren't aligned. And their governments often worked against each other diplomatically, according to my research. Hernandez embodied a pro-U.S. market-friendly conservatism, which falls in line with Trump.
Let's go, pretty.
And that clashed with Maduro's anti-U.S. state-centric socialism, which connects with the extreme leftists. So if you're Trump and you can get some conservatism in that region of the world, and on top of it all, you ingratiate yourself with some Hispanics / Latinos, imagine what that could potentially do. Not just abroad, but here locally for the 2026 election, for the 2028 election, because one thing that we have to pay attention when it comes to the immigration crisis, and we got to stop playing games with this stuff. There's a whole bunch of Hispanics that want the borders closed. They don't want a lot of people skipping lines. They're looking at it and saying, wait a minute now, we have to stand in line. We have to go to the process like everybody else. Everybody that's Hispanic or Latino ain't for.
Guys, can we take time to double tap that screen? Let's double tap the screen if you're on a mobile device, or click those three dots, hit that thumbs up. It helps out the channel. I wouldn't keep asking y'all to do it if it didn't. Let's get the likes up past 300. We need 40 more likes, guys, to hit 300 on that like button. Let's double tap that screen if you don't mind, or click those three dots, hit that thumbs up, and remember to subscribe to the channel if you are new.
Open borders. We keep forgetting that. Trump didn't, and he hasn't. And this could be a major play. And that's the reason I wanted to touch on it, because I'm looking at all of this stuff from a strategic standpoint. Pardoning Hernandez. Look at how it's being framed. A diplomatic gesture, a way to empower conservative factions in the region, a signal to pro-U.S. actors that Trump will protect allies. That's what they're doing. That's what they're saying. Now, if you're a critic, I'm reading from a guy by the name of Lawrence, parentheses Larry Borstein, Boorstin. The reason I'm reading this is because I had it checked by my researchers, and I was told this was accurate. Quote, this is a tweet he put on X. Donald Trump announced he's pardoning Juan Orlando Hernandez, a.k.a. J.O.H., pronounced Ho in Spanish. This is what he wrote, not me. He says here, who was convicted of firearms and trafficking 400 tons of cocaine through Honduras to the United States and sentenced to 45 years in prison. Hernandez became president in 2014 and was reelected in 2017 in an election described as fraudulent by the opposition and some international observers, but unopposed by the Trump administration, even after appeals to the State Department by the opposition. 400 tons of cocaine represents 2.5 billion doses of coke. There were 29,449 cocaine overdose deaths in the United States in 2023. Trump 45 announced Hernandez as president of Honduras, who was extradited to the United States in 2022, prosecuted and convicted in 2024, and sentenced to 504 months in prison and 60 months of supervised release for cocaine importation and related weapons offenses. Trump 47 is pardoning him. No one should claim that Trump is against drug trafficking or having drug traffickers in power in Latin American countries. That's the left's point of view. To those others who, dare I say, are Trump supporters, or even say that I might come across as a bit more objective, they've got a different spin that they're looking to put on it, which I've articulated to you already. And down the road, here's what I wanted to say to y'all. If Trump can get conservatives back in power in Honduras, do you know that Trump would gain leverage to demand stricter Honduran cooperation on deportation flights, border patrols, anti-gang initiatives? Know that? So it comes down to who's playing the right game. You want us, who are proud to call ourselves a nation of laws, to make sure the president, under no circumstances, is breaking any laws. He's following the rule of law, and he's dotting I's and crossing T's, but dare I say, engages in a level of passivity as it pertains to immigration, anti-gang initiatives, patrolling the borders. Or are you one of those people that wants to say, bump all that? We need our borders patrolled. We need gang violence eradicated. We need to make sure that we ingratiate ourselves with these other countries that can take some of these individuals that were here illegally and make sure to deport them back. Which side of the fence are you on? Trump just made it so you have to make a choice. Because this wasn't his first move, and it damn sure ain't gonna be his last. So while I don't like it, because I think it's hypocritical and inconsistent with what he's been saying and what he's been doing in terms of him and having Pete Hegseth for the Department of War bombing these boats in the Caribbean and saying we got to keep the drugs out of our country. while you're letting somebody out of a 45-year prison sentence after less than 2 years who was alleged to have assisted in trafficking over 400 tons of cocaine into the United States. The flip side to that is, if you can restore this man to power or at least some significant level of influence in Central America, and that assist in our borders being patrolled, in migrants not coming in here in flux, and in gang rivalries being drastically diminished, if not flat out eradicated, which choice are you making? I'm only asking this question because we know Trump's going to, for the midterms next year in 2026. Buckle up and get ready. He just put the American people on notice yet again, forcing you to make a choice, forcing us to make a choice, one way or another. We only got two sides to pick from. Which one's is yours going to be? That's what he just did. That's what fascinates me about this stuff. I'm sure there's more to learn. I just learned that in the last hour. In the hours to come, I'm quite sure I'll learn even more. But I knew enough to say that, to tell you that. You to listen and to have something to think about and stomach. It's a lot. But if you're an American citizen and you're an adult, you don't much have a choice. Because one way or another, it's going to touch your life, depending on the decision you make at the polls and beyond. See you Wednesday, as in tomorrow night, on Straight Shooter with Stephen A. Post Radio.
All right, so that was Stephen A. and his take on Trump pardoning the alleged drug kingpin. There seems to be breaking news, guys, going on in the story that I brought to y'all yesterday evening, and where I showed the FBI basically saying that they had caught the dude who was responsible for the pipe bombs, guys. Yeah, was any of y'all here yesterday when I showed that? They saying that Trump they saying that the FBI basically caught the dude, in the Nikes, from what was it, January 5th, with the pipe bombs. It's a spin on the story. Check this out, guys. This is crazy. Breaking news.
Bomber. Man suspected of planting pipe bombs outside RNC and DNC headquarters in D.C. just hours before the January 6th riots. Remember that? So the man they caught, that they say this is the guy, and I'll tell you, looking at the evidence jacket that they put out, this is a lot of investigative work that points right at this guy, 30-year-old Brian Cole Jr.
Well, they said it's this guy. You know what I'm saying? That was playing. Okay, let's go. We got a face to the mystery man. They saying this is. That's what they saying.
Bridge, Virginia, living just 30 minutes from the Capitol. He is proof of the biggest national security threat facing this country. But that's not what people seem to care about here. The curiosity is why it took about 5 years to get him. The Attorney General, while taking a victory lap with the FBI's Kash Patel and Dan Bongino, I'll come back to that in a second. Anyway, the Attorney General seemed to blame the length of time on the Biden administration.
Lord, it's always Biden's fault.
Languished for 4 years until Director Patel and Deputy Director Bongino came to the FBI.
We did not discover any new information. What we did, brought in a new team of investigators and experts, re-examined every piece of evidence, something that the prior administration refused and failed to do.
Folks, this is what it's like when you work for a president who tells you to go get the bad guys. It was due to the diligent and incredible work of a team in the Washington field office that came in and just scoured through this over and over and over and over again.
I'm glad they got the guy. I hope they can make a case beyond a reasonable doubt.
I ought to start doing like them. IGT, we ought to start doing like this. They're lying. Lies. He didn't do it. Lies. They're lying. It wasn't him. Lies. Yeah, yeah, I'm just saying. That's what they do.
Good to get a bad guy like this if this is right. I even get thanking
Fake
the president.
news, yeah.
But blaming Biden, you know, there is no Trump or Biden FBI when it comes to the case agents who've been there for years. Now, I heard what they said about, oh, we brought in new eyes. I don't know that that's true. You likely had at least some of the same people working on this case now as then. Why accuse them? Well, rage bait, of course. It's not good enough to have the win. Biden needs a loss. Why? Because it's the binary nature, zero sum. Democrats always have to be bad for Republicans to be good. It's the coin of the realm, rage bait. But there is a legitimate basis for outrage here, and it has nothing to do with Biden. And I'm not talking about the conspiracies fed to MAGA, that this was an inside job. Remember that? I don't know. I hope you never heard that before, because that means
I did too, Balder.
Social media. But oh, they can't find the bomber because inside it was the FBI. Everybody there was from the FBI. Well, if that's true, guess what? Pam Bondi, Dan Bongino, and Cash Patel, they're all part of the conspiracy because they're now saying that this guy was not an inside guy. Putting that foolishness aside,
Let's go, Kumo.
The outrage here is who's celebrating and how they're explaining it. You know, there's an expression, gaining power doesn't change a person, it just makes them more of who they always were. For Cash Patel and Dan Bongino to stand up there, take credit for catching this guy, means that everything they were saying before about
Was
this
a lie.
very investigation was complete BS.
Let's
They
go.
know who he is. He's an inside guy. It was fixed. Bad. And I believe they knew back then that they were full of it. They're in the rage bait business, and this is the second time they have tried to pretend they don't have a past, and that ain't getting past me, and I'll explain why. This is not nitpicking. It's not a gotcha. It's not petty, okay? This is the root of what is wrong. The division in this country is largely manufactured for advantage, and it has been manufactured by people who weaponize information to make you think that you can only trust them. Other side is the devil. And Cash Patel and Dan Bongino were two of the guys who were powerful purveyors of exactly that. It is not my opinion. Look,
there is a massive cover-up because the person who planted those pipes, they don't want you to know who it was because it's either a connected anti-Trump insider or this was an insider.
Anti-Trump, huh?
The FBI are trying to protect their jobs.
He said he did it because they. We tell y'all something. And then come to find out, he told the people that the detectives or whatever, he did what he did because he felt like the election was stolen from Trump. So he was not an anti-Trump person. He was for Trump. Oh, wow.
It was an inside job. No question in my mind. It's clearly some Democrat operative.
Do you think the Federal Bureau of Investigation can't find a bomber in the United States of America? Or there was some government news or some FBI rogue source? You get rewarded for your criminal cover-up government gangster operations.
look at Benny Johnson. When Patel references government gangsters, it's a shameless plug of his book. See the game. Where was that BS today? Cash, where was it today? Dan, where was it?
He
Where
wasn't.
was the inside job?
Okay, Melody,
Where was it?
watch
It's a
this.
Democratic operative.
I'm gonna show you something right after this, Melody. We're gonna leave Melody right here. I'm gonna let you have a spotlight, Melody. Hold on. When it's done, I'm gonna bring something to you. You let me know what you think.
And I'll tell you why it pisses me off. Because these guys matter, and we need them in the positions that they're in. They were gifted by this president. And I combat the BS that they put out there all the time. And now they get to stand up there. This is what happens when you work for a president is go to bad guys, and this is what we did, and this is the guy. You were telling people they already knew who it was, and that it was a Democratic plan, and that the FBI was all about it. Now you're running that agency, and you don't say it anymore. The same reason you pretended you never said Epstein was murdered, there was a client list that the deep state was keeping sealed, and now you are doing more redacting at the FBI that you both won than anyone ever seen on those same files. Why? Why? Because they are part of the problem. They use rage bait to get paid by you. And they get you to click that, and they'll say anything to make it happen. It's as simple as that. And the proof is the past versus the present. If they weren't lying then, why won't they admit it when they talk about it now under oath, like they would about Epstein? It wasn't BS then. They really believed it. Why wouldn't he say today, hey, you know, I thought this was a Democratic operative. I was wrong. Why, I get it. You can't say that. Can't say that. The president, unfortunately, is right. Apologizing is losing. You're right. I hate it. It's not what we teach our kids. It's not what we're in a civil society, but we're not a civil society right now, and we all know it. I get that. But we need him to be better. We have. And I'll tell you what. We need leaders in the positions that they're in. We need these guys to be worthy of the positions that the president gifted them. And I wish he had not. This team is not look the president. We are not serving him well, in my opinion. And you could say, well, look, they just caught the guy. Yeah, they caught the guy that they said was a Democratic operative. For years, they said it. Okay? Just say we should have never said the bomber was an FBI plan. We should have never said FBI was murdered. We shouldn't have said those things. We're working off the facts now, and here it is. Okay? And again, I don't want to own them. I don't want to even disrespect them. I want them to earn some respect. Because here's the deal, okay? While they were distracting all of you, or so many of you, really, hopefully none of you, because I hope you're critical thinkers and independent, which is why you seek out News Nation. The boogeymen that they created have distracted from the real threat. And this alleged bomber is Exhibit A. Another disaffected young American male living at home with his mom, isolated, aggravated, and driven to a desperate act in the name of destroying the system. This is the #1 national security threat in America. Extremists act with violence. You do not have to be an extreme Islamist to be a fundamentalist and act on extreme ideas. And if you look at the political violence in our country, it is much more about other American homegrown people than it is imported jihadis. Look at the disgrace by Italian ethnicity, this Mangione guy. 1 year ago today, he assassinated a healthcare CEO to make the point. We have more people in this country who are homegrown, radicalized here, and seem to hate America and are willing to act on that premise than at any other time in my life. It's being fed by social media, and Kash Patel and Dan Bongino were the people among those feeding it. And the reason they need to own that is so that we can do what we need them to do now, okay? I don't care about the parties. I don't care about what party they're with. I see the two-party system as the problem, but we're all going to lose when there is more violence from guys just like this, and there will be more because the energy is all towards fomenting more as opposed to stopping it. And Kash Patel and Dan Bongino have to make a choice. Either you can be part of the problem or you can be part of the solution. What are they going to choose? Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and down.
Ain't that crazy, guys? All right, so we found out that it was a black guy. Oh, wow. I most definitely thought, I didn't think it was a black guy. Okay, so here we go again with some more on the pipe bombing situation. This is for you. I forgot, what was her name? I forgot her name. I unpinned you. But check this out.
Planting pipe bombs right near the U.S. Capitol on the eve of January 6th. So
what does the title say? Sources. D.C. pipe bomb suspect told FBI he thought the 2020 election was stolen. That's why he did what he did.
Chelsea, the 30-year-old suspect in this case, Brian Cole Jr., told investigators after his arrest he believed the 2020 election was stolen, providing the first indication into a possible motive.
Let's go live to our senior justice correspondent, Evan Perez. He's here with us in the Situation Room. What else are we learning as this investigation unfolds?
Well, Brian Cole, the suspect in this case, will sat for interviews, hours of interviews yesterday with the FBI, and among the
Let's go.
statements that he
And
made
if he
was,
thought that the election, this is for Natalie, that was her name. If he thought that the election was stolen, who was the, and I want y'all to type this in the chat, let her know, who was the election stolen from? If he did what he did because he thought that the election was stolen or rigged or however you want to say it, who was he in support of? If it was, who was it stolen from? Macho, stop playing with me before I deport you. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Who is he saying it was stolen from? So she's saying he is not a Trump supporter. No. Well, if he did it because it was stolen from Trump, that would make him a supporter, right? He did what he did. He told officials that he did what he did because he felt like the election was stolen from who else but Donald Trump. Yeah. Wow. But hey, teacher.
that he believed the 2020 election was stolen. Now, that is a significant piece of information simply because there's been so much conspiracy, there's been a lot of speculation as to exactly what the motivation could be. Certainly because, if you remember,
he was a Trump supporter.
On January 5th of 2021, the day before the Capitol riot, they were discovered that afternoon of January 6, 2021, just as the mob of MAGA supporters was breaking through the first cordon of police lines, and then, of course, ransacking the Capitol.
Absolutely,
so the FBI investigators for a long time were trying to figure out whether the two things were connected. Now, there's certainly a lot more to learn about what his motivation was and whether this really explains everything. But certainly, the statement that he provided to investigators in the last 24 hours is the beginning of the story here. Now, we know that the FBI did work over the last 5 years. You heard from the Attorney General and the Deputy FBI Director in the last 20
I wasn't saying it about who caught him. I understand that, Nature. I'm just saying she came in here with big exclamation points in red saying he was not a Trump supporter. But he told the FBI that he did what he did because he felt like the election was stolen from Trump, which would most definitely make him a supporter of Trump. Sorry.
Certainly a lot of the investigative work that is still to be done. But one of the key things that happened here was figuring out the cell phone location for this suspect that matched some of the other evidence. That only happened, Wolf.
Yeah, that's what he told him.
A few weeks, I'm told, as part of this investigation. And that is really remarkable when you think about an investigation that has cost millions of dollars, that included dozens, perhaps even more than 100 agents that have been working on this case since this happened back in 2021.
He should. He pardoned everybody else.
The FBI Director Dan Bongino is now distancing himself from various conspiracy theories. He actually helped push about this case when he was.
Let me tell you. Let me make a call to Elon real quick. Elon, we need one of your rocket ships. We need a couple of your rocket ships in the chat. We got an illegal named Amanda Martinez in this chat. We need her deported ASAP. No problem, Mr. President. We got you. No problem. All right, Elon. We'll holler at you. All right, let's get Amanda gone. All right, Amanda. Elon has sent the ships. It's time for you to go back to your home country, your home channel, wherever you support, watch, your news fix. It's your time to go. We'll holler at you. Bye-bye. You know what I'm saying? Congratulations. You just got deported. All right. Amanda's deported. We'll holler at you, Amanda. Bye-bye.
As a podcaster, what's he saying?
Right. Well, when he was a podcaster, 11 months ago, that he was on his podcast, and one of the things he said was that he believed the FBI had not revealed the bomb was because it was an inside job. Do we have a clip of that to play?
you put a post on X right after this happened, and you said there's a massive cover-up because the person that planted those pipe bombs, they don't want you to know who it is, because it's either a connected anti-Trump insider or an inside job.
I was paid in the past, Sean, for my opinions. That's clear. And one day I'll be back in that space. But that's not what I'm paid for now. I'm paid to be your deputy director. And we base investigations on facts.
And look, I was at that press conference yesterday and I raised my hand repeatedly. I did not get called on, but that is actually Hannity asked the question that I wanted to ask, which was essentially, do you still believe that this was an inside job? Because, the deputy FBI director, since he arrived at the FBI, has been very fixated on this case. He has been pushing people to try to solve it. And so the solution appears to be that they've now made an arrest. They've resolved the case according to the FBI. And some of the answers that we're getting now as part of the interviews appear to show not the narrative that the FBI and the deputy FBI director was pushing for so long.
Deputy FBI, the number two
FBI official.
All right, Evan Price, thanks very much.
And I just want to show an image of the press conference that occurred yesterday, high-level press conference where they announced these charges, and the sort of just a reminder of the people who we're talking about: Pam Bondi, the Attorney General; Jeanine Pirro, who is U.S. Attorney in D.C., Kash Patel; the FBI Director, Dan Bongino, the Deputy FBI Director. They all have a lot in common, and that is pushing the stolen election conspiracies leading up to January 6, 2021.
That's right. This was a core belief of MAGA supporters, a core belief of many of the folks who are in Trump's administration, including Trump, who continues to push this lie that somehow 2020 was a stolen election. He has been going through great lengths to sort of erase everything that happened on January 6th, to sort of downplay it. He's pardoned all of those people, and even Republicans kind of like to talk about it as if it was just sort of a rally, as opposed to an attack and an attempt to overturn the 2020 election. So the question from this is a MAGA person. This is sort of one of their own. Does he get pardoned, right? Do they sort of wipe away what he is to alleged have done? Because they've certainly done that with everybody else.
Yeah, and I know you're not suggesting it, but just
right,
we don't know. We don't
yeah.
know yet. This is an important piece of information, but we don't know who he identifies with officially. But the fact that he believed that it was stolen is certainly a suggestion. David?
Yeah, and I think that we were talking in the break. Remember, Donald Trump put forth this theory that has no basis to it and has no facts attached to it that 2020 election was stolen. Obviously, and it went broader than just MAGA. I mean, a large swath of the Republican Party overall. I mean, millions and millions of Americans believed this to be true, and you saw the result on January 6th. What happened? Now, when you look at the attack on the Capitol and on democracy on January 6th, that was not just targeted to Democrats or Republicans. Both Democrats and Republicans were working inside that Capitol building, elected representatives. How many Democrats and Republicans have you talked about their experience inside that building? Go back to the House floor. Look at Kevin McCarthy's. Look at how Republicans were reacting to January 6th at the time. So, yes, it doesn't surprise me then to see that somebody who might have believed in that or somehow been inspired by that also put a pipe bomb at the RNC and the DNC.
That's right.
This was complete repudiation of the perceived establishment or powers that be, because they felt that something was rigged against them because Donald Trump was telling them that was the case.
Yeah, that's such an important point. Kristen, I want you to listen to what Kash Patel said. He went on Don Jr.'s podcast.
Let's go.
Pipe bombs targeting the headquarters of the Republican Party, targeting the headquarters of the Democrat Party. I can understand maybe the media ignoring targets on the Republicans. Again, their silence is golden and they only report on that. But I mean, that to me is a far greater threat than any of the nonsense, a grandma taking a selfie inside of January 6th. And yet it just disappeared. It's almost like that was the backup plan if they didn't get what they wanted out of January 6th. To me, seems like a very clear setup operation.
And look, you're absolutely right.
It wasn't grandma taking a selfie inside the Capitol on January 6th. Let's just be clear on that. But Kristen, the just notion
All right,
of
I'm gonna cut this one
being the
short. We're pressed for time. We're gonna cut this one short right here, and we're gonna move along to Pam Bundy. Bundy also talking about this whole entire situation. She most definitely has some things to say as well about the pipe bomber. Let's go.
For the Fox News alert, the D.C. pipe bomb suspect is expected to appear in court this afternoon, nearly 5 years after he allegedly planted 2 pipe bombs.
Matt Rivera joins us now from Washington with the latest. Good morning, Matt.
Good morning. The U.S. Attorney for D.C., Jeanine Pirro, described the search for the suspect as finding a needle in a haystack. But after years of looking, they believe the man that allegedly left the pipe bombs outside of the RNC and DNC on January 5th, 2021 is 30-year-old Brian Cole Jr. He is now facing 2 federal charges. Agents visited more than 1,200 homes and businesses, conducted more than 1,000 interviews, and reviewed approximately.
I mean, shouldn't he get a pardon? The other 1,500 got pardons. Shouldn't he get a pardon too? I think it'd be majorly disrespectful if he don't get a pardon. And they pardoned everybody else that did all kind of stuff at the Capitol that day. I'm just saying. The rest of them got pardons. He should get one too, right? Just saying.
39,000 video files. But investigators say it was a new look at old information in the original file that broke the case. Court documents state Cole's credit card history shows throughout 2019 and 2020, he bought several materials that match the components of the bombs. These include galvanized pipes and end caps, battery connectors, kitchen timers, and electrical wire. Cell phone records were also crucial. Cell phone pings indicate Cole's phone was allegedly in the area of the RNC and DNC the night of the crime. U.S. officials say this is only the beginning of the investigation. There are still search warrants being carried out. Authorities were spotted outside of Cole's home in Woodbridge, Virginia on Thursday. Investigators believe Cole acted alone. We have not yet learned of a motive, and he could face more charges. Lawrence Ainsley and Brian.
All right, thanks so much, Maddie.
Yeah.
Let's bring in the Attorney General for the United States, Pam Bondi. Madam Attorney General, thanks so much for joining Fox and Friends this morning.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lawrence.
So let's talk about this case because the technology that y'all use to get this suspect.
Cutter. I mean, okay, he's guilty. All right. The rest of the other 1,500 was guilty too and got pardons. So shouldn't he get one? I'm just saying. They were guilty. They got pardoned. He's guilty. He should get a pardon too.
Spec off the street. First, it was a huge win for the country.
What's up,
Also
Melanated?
for your department. It's not that new. So why didn't the last FBI and Department of Justice catch this guy?
Lawrence, and that's the great question. This case languished, it sat there for 4 years collecting dust. No one did anything to solve this. And right when Kash Patel and Dan Bongino came in, Dan said to me, Dan said to all of us, I'm going to solve this case. He put a new team on it, working with Jeanine Pirro, our U.S. attorney, with Todd Blanche, with all of our attorneys at Maine Justice, a new team gathered on this case. Old evidence, new people, great police work. That's all it is. Good old-fashioned police work. And it solved a case that right from where I'm sitting, this bomb planted, the RNC, a pipe bomb at the DNC, they were real. Thank goodness they didn't detonate. Both bombs were real. And something was really special about the investigation. It was kept quiet. The entire investigation did not leak. It was kept quiet because we got someone who is charged with a very, very dangerous crime off the streets, and more to come.
Yeah, Pam, what did his parents know? I mean,
What about the other ones? They was doing very dangerous things too. Somebody actually got shot in that whole situation, like a police officer inside the Capitol. I'm just, man, look, if you're going to do for one, you got to do for all. He guilty. They was guilty. Pardon him. You pardoned everybody else. 1,500 pardons. You know what I'm saying? People were released from jail. All of that for storming the Capitol, you know, doing all kind of, you know, outrageous things and got pardoned. So don't be pressing the gas on him so hard, you know, because he just did what the rest of them did. He just did something different. But at the same time, the rest of them got pardoned. Give him a pardon. That's how I feel.
he was living at their house. Did they see? Was he building bombs in his
Yes.
room?
you know, all I can say is what you just saw. You saw a big, beautiful house. That's the suspect where he was living.
Yeah, and the lady passed away as well.
Reported. I can't talk about any of the evidence, but it's ongoing. They are pouring through evidence. You know, you saw hundreds of agents are on this case because this is a very dangerous person. And again, I believe there are more charges to come, but this is just the combination of great police work and all of my agencies working together, Maine Justice, FBI, U.S. Attorney, along with the D.C. Metro Police and the Secret Service and so many agencies. And that's what President Trump has promised to do, make D.C. safe again and the entire country.
So, Pam, the key is going to be, because he put it in front of the RNC, the bomb, and the DNC, but thankfully didn't detonate. Are we closer to finding out what his motivation was? Is he upset with politics generally? Who did he follow? Who did he vote for? You know, where did he show up in other places? Can you share any of that yet?
I can't. I've heard a lot of, you know, reporting and.
Okay. I bet that I stand corrected. Okay, but I'm most definitely a man. Hey, it was a while ago. Hey, if no officer would pass away, that's fine. But didn't everybody get pardoned? I know a lady passed away for sure, you know, but didn't everybody else get pardoned? They got out of jail, all 1,500 of them. You know what I'm saying? They got out of jail and some got pardons. So if you're not prosecuting all the rest of them to the full extent of the law, what makes him any different from them? I'll wait. Pardon him. Give him a pardon too. You gave the rest of them a pardon.
Rumors and online things, but I'm going to leave that up to the FBI.
All right, Attorney General, I want to bring you to this illegal immigrant from Somalia that has now been charged with multiple counts of rape, so including a minor. What can you share about this investigation? You know, they have said that this administration is just trying to demonize the Somalian community, but we got a criminal here.
Okay, Lawrence, this guy came into our country in 2015 under Barack Obama. He let him in legally, just like all the Afghanistans he's been letting in. He let him in legally in 2015. He committed a rape of a child, a horrific rape in 2017. Then he committed another rape in 2024. He's arrested in state court, lived in the Minneapolis area the entire time. Last name Muhammad, he's 28 years old. He's convicted in state court of both rapes. They let him walk out the door on probation. Double rapist. Pled to him, walked out the door. Then under our administration, he commits a new rape. He is arrested. He is in federal custody. We are going back in time now, charging him again with kidnapping and the rape of the 2017 case. And I can tell you there are more charges to come. And again, this is good police work. They took his DNA, ran his DNA through databases for all these unsolved rapes. So let's wait and see how many charges come after that. That should frighten everyone in this country, Ainsley.
Yes, I mean, this is disgusting, raping a minor. And I'm reading on this information, victim 1, victim 2, victim 3, a little girl. How were y'all able to get him? You said under with federal charges, because the state court, you said, let walk out the door.
Yeah. So we have concurrent jurisdiction in many places, and that's such a blessing now that we're finding out that all of these criminals around the country were.
Man, look, you should do research. I ain't got to research a thing. Who just typed that? I am whatever your name is, Jay. Check this out. They most definitely got pardoned. You know what I'm saying? Got pardoned. I don't care what you say. They did get pardoned. That's not no lie. He pardoned them. 1,500 people got out of. Some were 1,500. Some was let out of jail, and some was pardoned. You know what I'm saying? Some committed acts again and went back to jail. But the fact remains that Trump pardoned some of the January 6th people. He would be considered as a part of that because of his reasoning for doing what he did. He said he did it because he felt like the election was stolen. Stolen from who? From Trump. The people stormed the Capitol because they was outraged because they felt like the election was stolen from Trump. All of them did it on the same basis. If you're going to pardon one, pardon them all. Matters the skin color, matters any of that. You know what I'm saying? If you do it for the other ones, you might as well do it for him. I'm not saying what he did was right. I don't agree, not 1%. And I don't agree at all. Yeah, any other time I'll be saying lock him up. He deserved to go to jail. He did that, take him to jail. Absolutely. But seeing that you pardoned everybody else, might as well pardon him too. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. I'm just saying.
Not properly prosecuted by liberal state courts. We were able to charge him federally with a new case. And now his DNA is being run through databases throughout our country. So again, he's innocent until proven guilty of the new one. But he had entered pleas on the last one. The last two, one involved a 15-year-old girl. The second one held a woman in a hotel room for days and days and days and raped her repeatedly. Disgusting.
I mean, this is obviously abhorrent. This is why we have to find out what's going on with illegal immigration in our country. But it's not the only problem in Minneapolis. The financial abuse of the system to the tune of $1 billion. How aggressive is your department in pursuing this? I know Treasury's on this, but you have members of Congresswoman
Thank you for the gift, Goddess.
Inner Circle profiting millions upon millions of dollars. A restaurant where she had events. That guy pretending to serve 18,000 meals when his restaurant only has 35 tables. What are you guys doing to investigate how bad this is? And how could an attorney general and a governor let this happen?
Brian, it's unbelievable that they're doing with all of these people and the crimes that had been committed for so very long. We have a very active investigation. Treasury has an active investigation. We're going to see many more arrests to come on that. And not only that, look at what's happened with all the people here from Afghanistan.
So, Attorney General, what's the latest on this poor guy, the National Guardsman, Andy Wolf? We know he was in critical condition. Sarah Beckstrom was killed by this Afghanistan man, and she died. She was 20 years old. But I know that you've been in contact with the family. We were told he did a thumbs up to the nurse, and his toes were wiggling.
Yes, Ainsley, and we're a praying country. Please continue to pray for Andy. I saw Andy. I've met with his mom. I talk to his mom constantly. Melody, his dad, Jason. He has a sister, a brother, an 8-month-old niece. They're all in the hospital with him. And he is, Ainsley, he's a miracle. From day one, his mother, Melody, said, my son is going to live. My son is going to be 100%. And I can say this because parents let me. I was there when the doctors all came in the room after they had done an angiogram. He has no blood clots. He's a miracle. And now he's able to open both eyes, severe injuries, but we are all continuing to pray that he's got a long road ahead of him, but we are praying that he makes a full recovery. And this was something that the Biden administration, the monster, let into our country, walk into this country with little or no vetting.
I mean,
just
Wolf,
like all
my
these
bad.
Somalis that Obama did, who are committing crimes throughout our country. And under Donald Trump, it's going to stop. We're going to find them, we're going to prosecute them, and they will be deported as well.
Frozen immigration from 20 countries, including China.
And Madam Attorney General, I know you got to go and you can't comment on this, but there is a report about a volunteer that put out there about the National Guard shooting. They said this in the email. The email
Paul might be back, IGT,
and said that he needs help. He was enshrined in writing.
Paul might be back under another account. I think I've seen Paul about 6 times. Paul jumped back on the sidewalk. See, Paul. I don't know if that's the same Paul that got deported, but he might have he might have snuck his way back into the country. I'm just saying, that's a different one. Okay, I hope so. But Paul might have jumped the fence and came right back. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. But we're gonna let that make to he act up again. Then he's gonna get deported something back where he just came from.
By volunteer helping to give him a fresh start in America, who had become convinced he was unraveling. So there were people that knew about it. I'm sure you'll find out more in your investigation. Thank you so much for joining Fox and Friends.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Everyone pray for Andy Wolf. He's going to come out of this. A praying mom has helped all of us. So
and the family of Sarah, they're amazing people too.
Attorney General, thanks so much.
Here to respond, FBI Deputy Director, old friend of the program, Dan Bongino's back. Dan, great to have you. Thank you for taking time. We appreciate it. Okay, I think one of the big takeaways from today is you did not find any new evidence It was all there, had been there for the longest period of time. The only difference between you and Director Wray and the Biden DOJ is they did not prioritize it. Why? And I know it wasn't easy to solve, but you did it in 8 months.
Sean, I don't know what the hell this prior leadership team was doing outside of, targeting political opponents, weaponizing the FBI, destroying its reputation, embarrassing agents that are doing really good work out there, catching terrorists, CCP spies, and everyone else. It's almost like they were intentionally trying to decimate faith in institutions. It's horrifying. I don't know what they were doing. I can tell you what happened though when we got there. The director and I. My first meeting, I swore in, and I kid you not, probably 15 minutes later, and the people who are in the meeting know, I said, when I get in there, I want a full brief on this pipe bomber case on day one. And I looked at the case agent after getting a full brief on what they'd done, and they had done some a pretty extensive amount of work. They had chased down, I think, thousands of leads, 6,000 plus interviews had been conducted, hundreds of tips, and it still was relatively stale, the case. And I grabbed the case agent on the way out, and I said, "You're going to get me this guy. You're going to track this guy down, and you're going to find him. You're going to get me this guy. I want him." And that started what's been almost a 9-month operation right now to make sure that we could get full accountability and transparency to the American public and find this guy. And today we did. But Sean, I have to add this because this is really important. You've heard all the cliches, team effort. You hear it all the time in sports. I said it today at the presser, but I want to emphasize this. This was a team. Judge Jeanine, Deputy Attorney General Blanche, people you and I know very well, AG Bondi. You cannot do anything in the FBI without DOJ process, subpoenas, drawn paper, search warrants, complaints, arrest warrants. Who do you think does that? It's not just us. We're the investigators. They're the lawyers. So that team from day one, I told Pam and Todd, I said, hey, Cash and Cash could not have been more supportive. He's like, Dan, go for it. They said, whatever you need. And their attorneys over there were amazing on this case. So don't just throw the team effort thing out like it's just a standard cliche. I mean it. They really did a great job.
New York Post reporting that this suspect, Brian Cole, had possible anarchist leanings. I have other contacts that spoke with people that lived in the neighborhood, that knew him. Any evidence at this point that you can tell us, any anti-ICE sentiment, any anti-police sentiment, any radicalization or evidence of radicalization that you and the team, to quote you, are finding and that you're seeing at this point?
Well, the assistant director in charge of the Washington field office is an absolute manhunter. Darren, you saw him at the press conference today. In just the last couple of months, he's had to deal with the tragic National Guard shooting, Washington Safe Streets program. He's been dealing with this case and other public interest cases as well. I say that because this was a lengthy investigation. This did not just happen yesterday. We've been doing this for a while. As legal process starts to come out and filter out into the public space, you may see some more stuff tomorrow. I don't want to get ahead of it, but you'll see more. And I want to be very clear with the public. This is chapter 1 of a 10-20 chapter book. This investigation is not over at all. The investigation has just begun. We interviewed the subject at length. We are still going through an enormous amount of process, accounts. So it would be very early for me to get out ahead of that on motive. I mean, obviously the motive was to drop a couple bombs and that could have killed people. But what the actual ideology and motivation, I want to be cautious that this gets done correctly, and sometimes smooth is fast.
You know, I don't know if you remember this. This is before you became the deputy FBI director. You put a post on X right after this happened. And you said there's a massive cover-up because the person that planted those pipe bombs, they don't want you to know who it is because it's either a connected anti-Trump insider or an inside job. You said that, long before you even thought of as deputy FBI director.
Yeah, that's what he told the FBI.
Yeah, that's why I said to you, this investigation's just begun. We are pretty comfortable. We have our guy. I think there's again.
I really appreciate you, Nate.
And information and facts start to come out. The public's going to be very comfortable with the investigation that was conducted under Director Patel and his leadership. He's been great on this. But I don't want to, listen, I was paid in the past, Sean, for my opinions. That's clear. And one day I'll be back in that space. But that's not what I'm paid for now. I'm paid to be your deputy director. And we base investigations on facts. And, it was interesting. I was looking at the crowd today at the presser, and I saw a couple of media figures who you and I both know who promoted the other scandal, the collusion hoax. And I thought to myself, the difference between us and them is, we evolve as information and new inputs come out. We can produce different outputs because that's what we believe in. We believe in facts and investigations guided by facts. There were people out there in that crowd, I'm sure still believe in this collusion fairy tale hoax. So we'll see. We're going to be guided by the facts as this thing goes forward. And I can't stop leave the truck here without thanking the president. The president, you know very well, just like I do, Sean, he told us early, I said it on your show before, I'm going to say it again. He was like, boys, you go get him. This president absolutely hates crime. He hates the idea of someone causing a national security crisis in his city in Washington, D.C. He could not have been more supportive about these investigations. And I'll tell you, a weaker leader would have been like, you know what? We didn't find him. It's a stale case. We have other priorities. Nope. Nope, not this president.
Well,
no, we're not
White
done
House
at all.
is a lot.
This president,
Let me ask you this. July 26, you wrote that what you have learned in the course of you becoming deputy FBI director has shocked you to your core, down to your core. We cannot run a republic like this. I'll never be the same after learning what I've learned. And I want to ask the question through this prism. I texted you right after you put that out, and I said, okay, now you're scaring me, because I've known you a long time.
Yeah.
You didn't say that, Lee, did
you? No, I mean, I never really told this story before, but I was sitting in the office on a Friday night. It was very late. One of us is always the late and early guy, me or Director Patel. So it was, I don't know, it was 7 o'clock or so. And there was no one around. It was a Friday, and I was just reading some of the Crossfire stuff that we had seen, and I got to tell you, I was just horrified. I don't know, it's just stuck in my crutch stuff, and I've written books on this. I'm pretty well versed in what happened in multiple books on this, but when you see it on the other side, it was just different. I mean, what these people in prior administrations did to this country, Sean, to decimate and destroy faith institutions, and I just hesitate to think of where we would be right now with a different president in charge. I really do. I don't.
We know.
We may not have a republic.
We know the answer.
Yeah.
I don't disagree.
I mean, that's why, and that's why that next day I woke up and I just, I probably should have, but it was just I couldn't get it out of my head and what they did to just destroy this beautiful place we call home. And Cash and I were absolutely committed to this reforming this place and getting faith in these institutions back. I can tell you right now, you played the clip before. Director Patel has changed out the entire leadership team. Some of the people we have in charge right now, I swear to you, these are absolute manhunters. They've locked up 30,000 violent criminals. The murder rate has cratered so low, and we're not done. I told the guys, there's some headline in New York Post today. It's going to be crimes at an all-time low in New York. I said, it's not good enough. I said, back again. We're going again. We're doing another roundup. And then when we're done with that, we're doing another one. I said, you know what the acceptable crime rate is? 0. That's the acceptable crime rate. And this president could not be more important. I'm telling you, go get him, boys. He says it all the time. And he means it. Wow. He drives around these. What do you think he's doing this for? You think he's doing it to get reelected? You think he's doing it for politics? These are blue cities. He hates crime. He can't. It drives him crazy. And he wants it solved. And Cash and I are committed to doing it.
Well, I'm grateful, and I know many other Americans are grateful to the team and everybody that you mentioned. Dan, haven't seen you in a while. Good to see you. Thank you for being with us.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click to some.
All right, so you got. Hold on, let me turn this off in the background. It's messing with me. All right, so shout out to everybody in the building, man. Make sure you're subscribing to the channel, man. We on the road to 57K. I think we need less than 80 subscribers, guys, to be at 57K. Well, as of today, we found about Trump pardoning the alleged kingpin. You know, we all found out that Frank Bradley had to go in front of Congress and basically testify to the actions that were taken with striking those Venezuelan ships. You know, that second strike, the double tap they call it. You know, as to where P. Heck said it wasn't him, that it was Bradley that gave that command. Bradley most definitely, I guess, admitted to it, and also said that Hegseth never said unalive everybody, you know, was what was being reported. We also heard from Tony Busby, who is now representing Breonna Aguilera, you know, his family, the Texas A&M student that was unalived at a party in Austin, or potentially took her own life, you know, at a party in Austin, Texas. We most definitely covered everything in the headline, plus a couple of other topics like the bomber, you know, the bomber dude, you know, in DC. We found out he was a black guy, and basically he said he did what he did because he supported Trump in so many words, and he felt like that the election was stolen, guys. I hope everybody enjoyed the show. You know what I'm saying? I know there's a couple people that got deported. You know, it's better to talk about the content in the chat than to talk to me. You know, don't be being disrespectful down there, as we deport you the fastest. We got more rockets than Elon Musk and deport people faster than Trump. I'm just saying, man. CNN lied and said dude's white. Well, you know, they lied and said he was white. We found out he was black. You know what I'm saying? Hey, I'm just saying. But either way it goes, man, you know, I just pass the information along. You know, I know a lot of y'all like to do independent research. Y'all don't trust the news station, no matter what news station it is, because no matter, one thing I have learned through my time of doing this is every time I play a video, it don't matter whether it's Fox, CBS, MSNBC, you know, News Nation, no matter who it is, you know, if it's not in agreement to what people think, or people in my chat think, they start hollering, oh, that's fake news. Oh my goodness, they're lying. Oh God, it's fake. Oh, this and that, you know. So one thing that I do, I just present the news, you know, as I see it. And then, hey man, you can go do your own research on it, you know, find out every detail that you're looking for, you know, find out if they're lying or telling the truth. You know, to me, I just pass along the information that I'm seeing. You know, like I said, it's up to you to make up your own mind. You know, a lot of people say it's entertainment. We got this guy here, Travis. He said this about 50 times already. Fox Entertainment is the only news. But it's people, you'll be surprised, they call them liars too. I swear to God, if I play Fox Entertainment or Fox News, they're gonna say, hey, they're lying, depending on what it is that they're talking about. If they're going against Trump, they lying. If they're going with Trump, they telling the truth. I'm just saying, that's how it's been going. It's over too soon. I'll miss y'all. Same bad time, same bad place. Hey, Natural, we ain't done, man. Make sure you turn your notification bell on to all so you don't miss a time when I go live, bro. You know what I'm saying? Make sure you turn your notification bell on. You talking about too soon. We've been in here 3 hours. I usually stay 2. These last couple of days, I've been trying to get these last bit of subscribers, so I've been staying a little bit longer. You know, we need like we at 926. Yeah, you know, so we need a couple of more subs to hit 57K, but we most definitely on the way, guys. I appreciate each and every one of y'all that pulled up. I hope y'all pull back up on me. Yeah, make sure you turn on your notification bell so you don't miss me. Shout out to the old subscribers as well as the new ones. Shout out to all of my members, the old ones as well as the new ones. Shout out to all of my moderators for keeping this chat in line. Most definitely appreciate each and every one of y'all, man, for real. Thanks to everyone for tuning in. Enjoy the rest of your day. Absolutely. I'm appalled. Well, what's wrong? Miss Poober, what did I do something or did they do something? I'm just saying. Oh yes, got it. I mean, I hope everybody subscribe. You know what I'm saying? Subscribe. How are you all doing? God is here with us. God bless you all. God bless all of you. Already, man. God bless you too. Most definitely believe in God on this channel, man. Yeah, absolutely. And we're not racist, you know. I don't have a thing against anybody. Just keep it respectful, giving opinions in the chat. Don't be disrespectful to people who don't think the same way that you think. Everybody's human. Everybody has the right to their own opinion. Everybody has the right to think however they think. So if somebody don't think the same way as you, that doesn't mean they're stupid and all of that, which I'll be saying, because I be seeing y'all. You know what I'm saying? I be seeing y'all. I be seeing some of these comments and I just be in awe. Like, man, people are so brutal, man. Golly, you just mad at this man because he don't agree with what you said or your opinion. Yeah, thank you for that gift. Thank you, Vaughn. I appreciate it. Most definitely gonna sip that coffee. You can't hit them, so just laugh. Paul, man, you know what I'm saying? I don't even laugh when they go to talking to me. I don't want to talk, or they say something disrespectful. I deport them. You know what I'm saying? They deported. We'll get you right out of here fast. Yeah, we want the people who come to hear what's going on, and participate in the show. I don't need people coming through talking about who farted. This ain't the channel for that, man. You understand? None of that ridiculousness. This ain't the channel for that. We trying to pass along information over here, for real. Some here, David. Already, man. Well, I enjoyed y'all, man. I hope to see y'all again. To the ones that return. I hope to see you again. To the ones that don't, oh well. We'll catch you in the afterlife. And if you got deported, I may listen to what a couple of my members are saying about the deportees, and we'll see if we want to let you back into the country or not. But for right now, you know what I'm saying, still the other side of the fence. Don't be trying to sneak back in, because if we catch you, you're gonna get deported twice. I'm just saying, we have no problem with getting you up out of here. Yeah, so peace, love, and blessings to everybody out there, man. Y'all already know how it goes. It's time for me to make my grand exit. You know what I'm saying? Sidewalk gang, checking out. Hey, y'all be safe. I'll catch y'all on the next one. I'm gone.